Okay, Chair Burks, we are live on YouTube.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, my name is Cam Burks. I'm the chair of the Public Safety Subcommittee of the City Council and joined by my colleague on the City Council, Councilmember Stephen Bliss. And we want to thank you for tuning in tonight on short notice. This is we've called in an emergency town hall, and we did so to put some emphasis behind getting this up and running quickly. There's been a lot of talk in the community about a need for dialogue around wildfire preparedness and evacuation discussion and so forth. So we are super grateful to be joined by an excellent panel, if you will, of experts tonight that will talk a bit and then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. But first thing I want to do is I'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. and we'll look to adopt the agenda. And do we have a motion for that, Stephen?
So moved.
Okay, and I second. So we've adopted the agenda. Item 3 on the agenda is public comment. So if anybody has a public comment that does not relate to anything that's on the agenda tonight, and we have 3 discussion items on the agenda tonight. And if you don't have that in front of you, let me read it real quick. Update from the Lafayette Police Department, Con Fire, and Lumber and Cert on the 2020 wildfire season and PG&E PSPS events. Item B is evacuation preparedness and fuel mitigation for residents in their homes. And item C is Lafayette virtual evacuation drill. So if you have a comment that does not pertain to any of those 3 items, I would ask that you raise your hand now, and I can ask Jeff to put you in the queue.
Okay. Thanks, Councilmember Burks. We do have one hand up. I just want to remind folks that this is for public comment on items that are not on the agenda. And so you can use the raise your hand function, or if you're on a telephone, I see we have a couple telephone people, you can use *9. So with that said, we have Carol who has her hand up, so she'll be joining the meeting now. Okay, Carol, you're in, so go ahead and unmute. There you go.
Hi, Carol.
Well, we can see you, but we can't hear you.
Still on mute.
Yep. I'm trying to unmute her. Carol, we can't hear you, so there you go.
I did not have my hand up. Maybe I was trying to adjust.
Okay, well.
Is this the Carol you're talking to?
Yeah, good to see you. That's all right. If you do think of a question during the meeting, you can come back in.
Okay. No, I was adjusting my camera, my cell phone.
Well, Carol's one of our wonderful members of our Emergency Preparedness Commission. So thanks, Carol, for being on.
Hi, Ben.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll see you later. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else have a public comment for an item or an issue or a matter not on the agenda? I don't see any hands raised.
No hands are raised.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll move on. Thank you very much to our 4th discussion item. Before we do, let's maybe just go around and do a brief introductions. Maybe I start with Councilmember Bliss. If Councilmember Bliss would like to make any opening statements, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Burks. I'll just keep it really brief. I know that we want to get to the presentations and discussion, which is why people are here, but just wanted to just underscore something we've said before when we've done public safety town halls and other discussions at the subcommittee level, is that, City Council, safety of our community is, first and foremost our top concern. And so this discussion is timely given the fact that we're into some wildfire risks of a severity and an earliness this year that are really unique and raise particular challenges for us as a community. So I just wanted to thank the work of the Emergency Preparedness Commission for thank them for their work and their ongoing leadership, and also really appreciate our speakers tonight, John and Chief Ben, Assistant Chief Pigeon, and also Duncan from the Emergency Preparedness Commission for being available this evening. And also big thanks to all of you that have attended. I see that we have a number of members of the public here, coming up on about 50 people here tonight via Zoom. So thanks for the interest. And then finally, just again, a big thanks to Councilmember Burks for his leadership in calling this emergency meeting this evening. Looking forward to the discussion and to thinking about what we as a council and as a city can do to help keep us safe amid these wildfire risks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bliss, very much. I'll just go maybe around the horn, and at least in my Zoom panes here. Maybe I can start with Assistant Chief Pigeon. If you'd like to introduce yourself, that'd be great. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Councilmember Burks. Assistant Fire Chief William Pigeon, and I work for the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, and that's the agency that services the city of Lafayette. I'm assigned to the communication division, so I oversee all radio, IT, the communication 911 center, and I'm also the liaison to the city of Lafayette and been working with Chief Aldrich for the last couple of years. So that's
Great.
it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Chief Aldrich from our police department.
Good evening. One of the things your Lafayette Police Department does with the support of the City Council and the City of Lafayette is also oversee our emergency preparedness. And so a lot of the stuff we do out of the police department is not normal for most police departments, but that is because of one, we are a small city, but two, it's also with the support of City Council and our city leadership and city managers. So happy to be on tonight, and I'm glad for Duncan and William are my partners in crime on most stuff, along with John Cornell, and I think Dennis Ray may log in later just to provide any feedback if available, but he's out working Emergency Operations Center down in the LA County area. So thank you for everybody for tuning in tonight, and thank you.
All right, Chief Aldrich, thanks very much. And now to Duncan Siebert. Duncan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Cam. Duncan Seibert. I'm the chair of the Lafayette Emergency Preparedness Commission and the program manager of La Miranda CERT. And much of the work that we do involves both the community emergency response team, the CERT team, and the Emergency Preparedness Commission.
Okay, thank you, Duncan. Thank you for the introduction. And we'll move to John Cornell, who is the jack of all trades and just an absolute asset for our Lafayette Police Department, but on a variety of factors across all disciplines. But John, why don't you introduce yourself if you could?
Thank you, sir. John Cornell. I work for the City of Lafayette Police Department. I'm our police services assistant, but I kind of handle all of our technical needs and management of some of the wildfire camera systems that the chief is going to talk to you about, and then kind of making Chief Aldrich's dreams reality and putting together projects to better serve the community.
Okay, John, thank you. Well, I'd like to say, these four folks, and Jeff Heyman, thank you very much again for being here and facilitating this and making this all happen. So appreciate it.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I'm going to be giving a little. I'm the communications analyst for the city, and I'll be giving a little talk on the notifications we put out, the publications, and things like that.
Perfect. Excellent. So what you've got here, and it's just amazing. It's awesome to see. We have 58 attendees. Within a few days notice of this meeting, and it's really encouraging to me. I know it is for Councilmember Bliss to see this kind of turnout. This is, I mean, for me personally as a council member, there is nothing more important than this. When it comes to life safety and being prepared, knowing where to go, making sure your family understands what's going on. All of these things that are running through our heads as we're smelling smoke and we're listening to the news and we're hearing about fires around us, and we're just getting into it for this season. So this is something we really want to take seriously, and as a council, it is absolutely our number one priority when it comes to public safety. And we are so fortunate to have the absolute best in the business with a fire district that is they saved our city last year during the fire on the north side of Lafayette. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. The best police department that I've ever worked with in my very long career in law enforcement and professional security. And when it comes to emergency preparedness, Duncan's expertise, what he brings to the table, and has for many, many years. I mean, we're talking assets in the community, and then with John, and the disciplinary kind of functions he brings to the table. This is the A team right here, and Jeff Heyman coming in to support in the ways and his experience. You've got everybody on the line tonight for the participants to ask any question, to probe, and to really get a good feeling of what you should be ready for and be ready to execute if there is an emergency. And so seriously, take the time, please, get your notepad out, draw up those questions as you hear some talk here through these first 3 items. We'll open it up to public comment after we go through the 3 items, and we'll just take as long as we need. And really I'm grateful to our speakers to answer all the questions needed and asked tonight. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move to item number 4, which is discussion items. And the first discussion item is an update from the Lafayette Police Department and Contra Costa County Fire Protection District and La Miranda CERT on the 2020 wildfire season and PG&E PSPS event. So I'll turn it over to Chief Aldrich. Do you want to start on this one? Is that okay? Or
yeah, I'll go ahead and kick it off, and then we'll
Right.
segue into Assistant Fire Chief Pigeon, and then Duncan Siebert. Hey Jeff, the option to share my screen is not showing up. Did I do something wrong? Or actually, never mind. I just figured it out.
Yeah, it should be okay. Got it?
Sorry, I
right.
apologize. All right, let's see if we can kick this off. Jeff, does that look good from your end?
Roger that.
All right. I just want to start off this photo. This was taken in 2019. It was actually an active shooter exercise that we did with Confire, but the most important thing that we can do in emergency services, and really anything that involves emergencies, is develop relationships ahead of time. And that is one of the things that, excuse me, brings a lot of value, I believe, to the La Miranda community is your Lafayette, Moraga, and Miranda officers, which many are pictured here, are actively participating with Moraga Miranda Fire, and in this picture specifically, Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. Having these relationships ahead of a crisis saves time, saves lives, and I'm really proud of that relationship we have with Confire here in Lafayette, but also with La Miranda Fire. Just real quick, in 2019, as we all know, we had 2 different public safety power shutoffs. We had the fires in Lafayette in October, but 2019 kicked off with your city council to being ahead of the curve and setting a number of objectives and goals. And city council strategic objective 1 was develop a strategy to augment community emergency preparedness, specifically in the area of wildfire preparedness or wildfire planning. And like anything else, when you're given a challenge, great things come out of that. And I'm going to go over some of the things that came out of 2019 as we go into 2020. I'll start with our community warning system. Community warning system, I'll just start with this first off, is we have social media. That's our bottom level platform to advertise to our community on a variety of things. And then above that is Nixle. And then above Nixle is the community warning system. This is operated by the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office, Office of Emergency Services. And this is our community-wide emergency alert system. In 2019, we started out with a little under 3,000 households in Lafayette signed up. And we have roughly 10,000 households here in Lafayette. We kicked off a very proactive campaign, and with the support of our community, we ended 2019 with 7,500 signups. And as of July 2020, we're at over 8,000 signups. There could be some duplicates in there, but it's a pretty good number for a community of our size to have potentially 80% of our households signed up for the community warning system. Here shortly, I'm going to bring Jeff in, but I'll go over a few more things. I want to highlight last weekend and the weekend before when we had some red flag warnings and we put out some Nixle alerts. We got some feedback from our community that they did not get some of the advisory alerts. And what we learned in looking into that was that Nixle changed some signups. And so for an advisory versus an alert, you may or may not get an actual text versus just an email. And so in the coming week, please look for advertisement for both the City of Lafayette and the Police Department on changing your settings for Nixle. I apologize for that. There were some advisories that normally would have gotten via text message, but you only got via email. And so some folks felt like they weren't getting the most current information quickly. So it was an update from Nixle, and we apologize for not getting that advertised sooner, and we're going to correct that in the coming week. But again, social media, both from the Police Department and the City of Lafayette, is our lowest level. Nixle is middle. And then when a community warning system is activated, that is, you got to pay attention. We'll go a little bit more into that here shortly. Real quick, community warning system. Typically, in the past, if you were to receive an alert from them, the caller ID would show up as 3 zeros -3 zeros -4 zeros. As part of it, dealing with communications and a lot of cell companies and cell phones starting to register that number as a spam number. They've updated their caller ID to 925-655-0195, and both the city and the PD have been advertising that. And Jeff Heyman will be continually pushing it out through our city website. But it'd be important to save that in your favorites so that your phone doesn't send it to spam or shows up as one of your favorites. So again, we have a few advertisements on the city website under hot topics that will give you a little bit more information on that. Actually, I just said what I needed to say there. So feel free to go ahead and do that. Real quick, before I go this screen I just did, I'd like to bring in Jeff real quick. One of the things that the city of Lafayette added in the last two years was a communication analyst position, which is essentially a PIO. And we've tried to really strategically use that position of Jeff to more efficiently put out information to our community instead of just relying on myself and or Kathy Surgis, who's on the line tonight, Kathy Surgis Moscato, who is our administrative analyst at the police department, i.e. the other chief of the police department. But when we have a crisis hit, sometimes for myself or Kathy to be putting out proactively information, it's more efficient for us to use Jeff Heyman. And so Jeff, if you could just come in here for a minute and talk about some of the things you have built over the last 2 years as a communication model, whether it's emergency alerts or just proactively putting out information valuable to our community.
Well, thank you, Chief Aldred. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, I think we're going to have to.
I'll stop share. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me go ahead. Yeah, so we have a number of communications. There we go. Let's go up here. So this is a snapshot of our home screen, our home website. So we have a number of communications tools that we use, and I just want to really quickly brief everyone on those. A lot of you may know about them already, but when you go to our homepage, you'll see here in this column where it says latest news right here. So these are some of the things we put out. We put out a weekly roundup. I'll tell you more about that in a second. A almost daily briefing. We didn't get one out today. That's why we call it the almost daily briefing. And that's mostly news items about or that of interest to folks in Lafayette. But I also have a resource section in there of meetings and, in this case, wildfire resources and things like that. But here we also put out what are alert and e-notification messages. So right here, you can see we have the town hall up here at the top, pinned to the top, and then we have the evacuation exercise right here. Now, you might say to yourself, how do I get these things? Well, here's how. Get on the homepage. Under this thing here, it says Connect with Us. Click on that. This gives you an inventory of all the social media sites we're on. So we put this out also on social media as well as on the web page, email. We're working on text notifications. That's a little more tricky. And then here's a little synopsis of all the tools that we have and everything you can subscribe to. And I'll give a shout out to the Lafayette Vistas, which is a quarterly that was mailed out recently. I think everyone got one, and we devoted that entirely to wildfire preparation. It's a good resource to have close at hand. Now, back to the notifications. If you want to know what's happening, not just the daily briefing or the weekly roundup of news stories, but if you want alerts on what's going on, everything that goes on social media and on Nextdoor also goes out as an e-notification. So you hit the subscribe button there. It's going to take you to this screen. Again, you may have already done this. And then you fill out your information here. You select what you want. Do you want to get calendar listings for, let's say, all public meetings? That would be a lot. Or are you interested in public safety or the city council meetings, things like that? You just choose what you want here. But make sure you scroll down. It's really important because down here under the news section, this is where you can select the almost daily briefing, again, which is a synopsis of news articles. General news, that's the important one. That's where all the announcements come out. make sure you click general news. A lot of people don't do it. So click general news. Police newsletter goes out here, the weekly roundup here. So you just click that, and you're good to go. You can click the Vistas newsletter if you want to get a soft copy of that, but we do mail that out. Then you, put in your little code, hit submit, and you must reply. That's going to send you an email to say, did you really do this? Please click yes, or it will not register you. So that's pretty much it, Chief Aldridge. Is there anything else you'd like me to go over at this point? Okay, thank you. Okay, back to you.
So thank you for Jeff for going through that. At the Lafayette Police Department, we do have our Facebook, Nextdoor, and Twitter pages. We try to duplicate messages between both the PD and the city as appropriate. But we just encourage folks to please subscribe to those things that you're interested in. It is a much more efficient way, especially when I'm out in the field or actively working something, for me to utilize Jeff, our PIO, to advertise that. And I'm not trying to kill you with too much information, but Jeff is consistently going to put out everything we're putting out to the police department. We typically share everything with Jeff. So if anything, you have redundancy there. But I'm going to go back to share screen here. Okay. So I just want to cover some other things in 2019. We did have the Spring Hill evacuation drill. This was covered with our city council. This was a drill that we ran with the support of our Spring Hill residents. Excuse me. It was an opportunity to practice both contraflow traffic control, but also we worked out some things with our CERT folks and our search and rescue folks as far as making sure that we're properly going home to home, and instead of the old forms of marking if someone was evacuated or not, go into more of an electronic cloud-based system that allows that information to go back to the unified command or the command post. I think one of the biggest wins out of 2019 was the Law Miranda Residence Guide to Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation. This guide was mailed out to every Lafayette resident or address, along with Moraga and Orinda. And for those that maybe lost their copy or moved to town and don't have one, starting tomorrow morning, we're going to have a box out front of the PD with copies stacked in there. Plus, Jeff on the city website has a downloadable PDF of that. And Duncan will be going through some of the highlights out of that wildfire guide here shortly. Kudos to our Emergency Preparedness Commission and specifically Duncan Siebert. I got to act like this was mine, but really this was a product of Duncan with the support of myself and the Emergency Preparedness Commission, but Duncan deserves a lot of credit for this. And this has become a model both within the county and through other jurisdictions in California and other states on a guide that you can get out to residents. And this really came from a challenge from Mayor Anderson to say, you need to make a resident-friendly guide of all your plans. And so again, when you're given a challenge, great things come out of that. So we do have plenty of copies, and we'll leave them up front of the PD in a box, along with, if you go to the city website, you can download a soft copy of that. Another big win in 2019, we got John on the call here, but in 2019, John came to me, John Cornell from the police department, and said, hey, I've heard about the Alert Wildfire program. These are free cameras given to us through Alert Wildfire, which is ran out of the University of Nevada, Reno. They do it through partnerships with both utilities, California OES, and other groups, CAL FIRE, to provide cameras to counties to install these and provide for detection, alerting, and monitoring of wildfires. Prior to November 2019, we had no cameras in Contra Costa County. And because of our city council and city manager allow me to have an IT guy at the police department who understands emergency preparedness, but also understands the intricacy of a variety of IT challenges, we went to town. And John may update this number, but as of May of 2020, Lafayette PD had installed over 20 doing too many things here at once. We installed over 20 alert wildfire cameras across the county for firefighting operations. And shortly here, I'll bring John in to talk a little bit more about that. There's a public facing view of this website. But from the police and fire side, we have the ability to log in these cameras, pan, tilt, zoom them, get in close to see where the fires are at. And I'm sure Assistant Fire Chief Pigeon will talk about this shortly, but over the last 2 weekends when we had the dangers of lightning and all the other conditions that provided for a red flag warning, we actually had John Cornell at the police department working hand in hand with Con Fire, running the cameras, providing information to their command staff that proved to be very valuable. There is more to come with Alert Wildfire. The University of Nevada, Reno is working on a beta test of a software that will take the image that is seen and break it into microgrids and say, hey, 10 seconds ago, this grid looked like this, and now it looks like this, and that looks like smoke. And in the future, very near future, that'll actually send an alert to our Con Fire and Miranda Fire dispatchers in the fire department to say, hey, you need to take a look at this camera. It looks like there might be smoke here. And I know Pigeon will give a lot more detail on this. This is not my area of expertise, but getting on a fire sooner than later can make a huge role of difference, getting the proper amount of assets, understanding the conditions out there. And so really happy with this. And I'm thankful to, again, I know we have council members on this call and I'm brown nosing here, but this is possible because of the attitude we have here in Lafayette is if this makes sense, let's get it done. And Alert Wildfire here in Contra Costa is a great example of that. John, if I can, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to bring John Cornell to give about 5 minutes about Alert Wildfire and just what you can see as a citizen here in Lafayette. John, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. And I'm going to actually share my screen. I just have a quick PowerPoint to kind of give an idea of what the Alert Wildfire system is. Give me 1 second here. Can you guys see that? Yeah, okay, perfect.
Yes.
So Alert Wildfire is a program that's run out of the University of Nevada, Reno and the Nevada Seismological Lab. They've been going for about 5 years. It actually started out as Alert Tahoe, which was focused on Lake Tahoe. Since then, they've spread out. And when I approached them in November, they kind of asked me to help with the Bay Area because the Bay Area was lacking in cameras. So this is just one example of one image out of hundreds of thousands that are taken by these cameras 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this was from Orange County last year, but just a fantastic photo of what these cameras are meant for. There's cameras all across the state and out of state, and then we're constantly adding more. Alert Wildfire goes out and gets grants from different agencies and companies. In our area, the primary grant provider is PG&E, Cal OES, and then Cal Fire. And what they do is they'll give those agencies a realistic expectation of how many cameras they can install in 1 year. And then those agencies and companies will provide the grant money to do that. And that's where, coming into our area where we didn't have any in November, we were able to put 20 plus in a short period of time by just kind of requesting them. And that's what I've been focusing on. And we've been able to use them on many, many fires in our county and outside of our county. And Chief Pigeon will, I'm sure, talk about that. This is just one picture of kind of where we typically install these cameras. They're on top of our towers that are spread across the county, up on hilltops. This is a tower in the Oakland Hills that looks over in the top right. That's Moraga, and it spreads all the way over to the Lafayette Reservoir. So we try and put them in areas that have a very wide field of view. The cameras themselves have a very advanced image sensor and a very high optical zoom. So something like this, we could see a fire all the way on Mount Diablo if we had to from this tower. That's a just up close picture of the camera. It's a very simple installation. One camera with a custom metal bar. That camera is actually looking over the Orinda Country Club and Briones Reservoir. And all of these cameras are accessible on a public site that the general public can go to, and it has a 10-second snapshot that's updated. every 10 seconds, then it creates a time lapse that you can also view. The private side that the law enforcement and the fire agencies view is live, and that's where we do have the ability to go and move these cameras to position them onto an active fire. Just another camera installation. This was another camera on Grizzly Peak. This one's more above Orinda. Just a couple of demo images of what these cameras are typically looking at. So we have a camera from the top of Mount Diablo that was funded by Cal OES. And then we have a camera kind of smack dab in the middle of Briones that was funded by PG&E. Both of these cameras are on the what we call the Lafayette PD network. The city of Lafayette has been fantastic in helping to get networking to these cameras. The countywide microwave network that our radios run off of just wasn't able to support the data needed for these live HD cameras. So the chief, and with the help of the rest of the city, we've been able to go through and put in kind of an auxiliary backbone of wireless radios to help support these cameras all across the county. These are just the specifications on what the cameras do, the on-demand time lapse. We do have an integrated lightning map in the public side that the public can go in and look at. We actually use that. Myself and Chief Pigeon were watching that diligently a couple of weeks ago. Everything is hosted in the cloud. So that means that the time lapses, everything, it can't be lost, and we can go back and recover that. Some of our cameras do have smart power where we need to save power in the off season, just a small technical thing. The system works on practically any device, and that's the beauty of it, is you can log in from a phone, you can log in from your laptop, you could pull it up on your Amazon tablet, whatever it may be. And that just gives the public real-time information from anywhere they are, which is fantastic because it does show you up-to-date info. This is just the kind of what the chief went over. I'll give you an example. So this is from the fires, the LNU fire. So this is from our Mount Vaca cam. I assisted in this installation. It's not in our county, it's in Solano County, but this kind of hits home right now just because of how close it is to us. This camera is on the tower, and obviously that's the fire line coming right up to the fire break that was created around the tower. And that was just from a couple of days ago. The entire fire team were actively watching these cameras, and this is just a reason why they can really see exactly where the fire is in real time. I'll play this short video. This is Bonnie Doon. This is from the CZU fire in Santa Cruz. This is a camera that we lost to the battle, but the fire department, all of Cal Fire was able to actively watch this fire and just see how quickly it was spreading. And that was the camera's final image as it got moved down to see the equipment get overtaken at the base of the tower. We hope that we'll never have to see this on any of our cameras, but again, it does provide just a fantastic real-time image where you, quite frankly, couldn't have anybody else to give that info. We do integrate with PG&E's weather map. So as you know, PG&E's been doing a great job of putting out their weather stations that give real-time information for wind and humidity, and the web page does integrate with that. So it's kind of an all-in-one information site. This is what the public site will look like. This is the alertwildfire.com site, so members of the public can do a quick Google search and you'll be able to pull this up. And this image right here is the 10-second updated image, and then this is the map. This is an older image. If you go to it right now, you'll see a lot more of these blue triangles, and that's all of the cameras that we have in the county and the direction that they're pointed. Lastly, kind of what Chief was talking about, Chief Aldrich was talking about, we are in the process of integrating our cameras in the county with some different technology and some AI that can actually go through and detect fires and then alert to them without any human interaction. It does this by creating that grid that the chief was talking about. This is a demo that we've been doing. This is from August of 2018. And this camera alerted on this little bit of smoke down here in this grid. And it did that before any 911 calls. And you can see the timeline here. So we're going to be implementing this type of technology on some of our higher cameras like the Mount Diablo camera and our Grizzly Peak cameras, just because of their field of view. we're able to produce this grid and capture most of the county. And probably by the end of the year, we will have this on all of our cameras. And this is just a simple map of kind of how we have them spread out across the county. And you can go on and look at the updated one on the Alert Wildfire site. And that's kind of all I have on the Alert Wildfire cameras. There's a lot of technology that goes into it. I can't thank the chief enough for helping support this. And I know that members of the public love it too. And I encourage everybody to go on and look at the site at least once, and then that way you're familiar with it.
Yeah, so just clarification, it is alertwildfire.org. There are also additional cameras that you will not see from the public facing view. And this was done with partnership of private landowners here in the Loma Linda area who allowed us to come onto their property and install a camera, but for the sake of privacy, those views are not open to the public. So you will not see all the cameras we have. But again, this was a partnership through multiple entities, and I won't name them all because I'll mess it up, but we did this at a very low cost to the city of Lafayette. The cameras were provided for free. At different times, we had tens of thousands of dollars of cameras sitting in our conference room at the police department. And our job was to provide for installation and the connectivity, and having John, who's certified to climb towers, and working out deals with different providers who, when we explained what we were doing, were more than happy to be partners with us. So if we had done this all by ourselves, potentially would have been cost prohibitive, especially with the cameras involved, to do this. And so thank you to those in the community that might be watching that were participants in this. So thank you. I'm going to move quickly on so we can get to Assistant Fire Chief Pigeon. We've already covered Alert Wildfire. Real quickly, we also want to talk about PSPS events. One of the things we noticed last year, Lafayette's a great community, but when the lights go off, it gets real dark around a lot of our intersections. And so we've begun the process of installing intersection power taps. I believe we have 5 done now, and these are the intersections that we targeted, primary intersections for a lot of flow of traffic for those coming in and out, from Moraga or Orinda, or those leaving Lafayette. We already have 8 generators that are standing by in a trailer, and so if we have a power outage, members of the Lafayette Police Department will run out and plug in these generators. Hopefully they don't get stolen. We'll chain them up, but the goal is to have our primary intersections powered with 4-way traffic signals just to enhance safety during a PSPS event. As far as PSPS events go, we anticipate them for 2020, but I don't have any information for when the first one is coming. So, but just stand by and make sure your home is prepared, because we fully anticipate we're going to have events this year. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Zone Haven is a company that is partnered with Moraga Fire. And because of our relationship that we have in the Loma Linda community, and along with Dennis Rain from MOFD being on our Emergency Preparedness Commission, we've gotten a lot of free services from Zone Haven in improving and optimizing our evacuation zones. Sorry, I apologize. So more information to come on that, but the goal of the company is to, one, make sure we have the best evacuation zone lines drawn, but also to optimize those zones and have handbooks available to law enforcement and fire, so that if we have an evacuation of zone, we have a lot more information readily at our disposal on control points, infrastructure within that zone, things of that nature that most of our personnel are aware of, but it just puts it down in a document that's in the back of all of our vehicles, so that we don't forget anything and that we can be better prepared and make decisions more quickly. And so this is an ongoing program. Duncan Seibert and Dennis Rain have been working diligently on the Loma Linda evacuation zones with Zone Haven, and this will be a big improvement to our existing setup that we do have. So thank you to Duncan and Dennis for making us a part of that. I'll wrap up here. Jeff Heyman should probably be doing this slide, but this was a Jeff Heyman project. As we found from October of 2019, when cell phone towers go down, communication becomes very challenging. And so the city of Lafayette, Jeff Heyman put together the idea of establishing an AM radio station, and with the support of the city council, all our research was done. I apologize, I just keep doing this. Sorry, Zoom and PowerPoints is fun.
Here, I'll fill in while you're doing
right.
that.
Well,
Yeah. So
Jeff, why don't you
John.
cover this slide, Jeff? You're the better one at this.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
Well, thanks.
Go ahead.
Well, John is working on this right now, and we are very hopeful that we'll have the radio station up and running sometime next month. It got a little delayed because of COVID, and so many things are going on that's delaying it. But this will be an emergency AM radio station that you can tune into. It'll run 24/7 with information about the city, meetings, recreation programs, things like that. But during times of emergencies, it will have evacuation information, the latest alerts, weather alerts, PS event alerts, all that sort of thing, and it will repeat those and give you very detailed instructions. And as Chief Aldrich said, the idea behind this is, when the power goes out, we lose all of our cell phone towers and everything else, and you're jumping in that car to get out of there. Probably your AM radio will work in the car. And the radio station will be about a 5-mile radius all around Lafayette, including Highway 24 and Pleasant Hill Road and those corridors. So we're hopeful that then we'll be putting out a lot of information on that as soon as it's up and running. I got to thank everyone for their support on this project. And John has been doing a great job getting this thing up and running. So keep your fingers crossed, and we'll be on the air next month. Next week would be good, but next month.
If you log in around midnight, it'll be the greatest hits from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, but Jeff's going to live out his dream here. So again, we've talked about this time and time again. The city continually tries to think ahead. This is challenges from our city council. It's permission from the city manager for your chief of police to make budgetary decisions in the middle of a fiscal year to both promote crime prevention, but also emergency preparedness. And I just want to reiterate my thankfulness. I'm given a lot of discretion, and I take that very seriously. Also in 2019, we purchased a portable AC unit that we're currently installing in one of our Lafayette PD trailers, so that in the future we can pull that out and create a cooling center pretty much anywhere in town. We bought that off an auction site. We also purchased a satellite system off an auction site that will allow us to build a internet and cellular network during an outage for emergency operations. We purchased another portable generator at the Lafayette Police Department. I'm really trying to look like a fire department here. I'm really working hard, but no, I'm just kidding. But the goal is to make us better prepared, be able to respond to an emergency. And we do a lot of different things here, but it's one of the reasons why I love working for you all. And I'll turn this over to Will Pigeon to go over what Confire has been doing over the last 12 to 18 months. Go ahead, Will.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and I'll try to. Okay, and I just want to make sure everyone's seeing the screen. Are you seeing just the title slide, or are you also seeing notes? Sorry.
Looking good. Just the title screen.
Thank
Looks
you,
good,
everyone.
Will.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so in City of Lafayette, Contra Costa County Fire Protection District is your fire department. We have 3 stations in the City of Lafayette: Station 15, Station 16, and Station 17. And we have various other stations throughout the county, including in Walnut Creek and Pleasant Hill, which are neighboring the city. So I keep mentioning this, and this is kind of it's somewhat becoming cliche that this is now a new wildfire normal. It definitely is. What we're seeing since 1932, when the state of California started tracking wildfire history, in the last 20 years, I think it includes the top 10 largest wildfires. Just this season alone, we saw very early on in the fire district a 300% increase in the number of fires that we were having, including in our local jurisdiction. And This was, I didn't change the slide. This is the slide that I gave to that I presented to the city council, and I didn't change it, but we are right on track, and everyone is seeing this now with the huge mega fires that we have from the August 17th lightning siege that the Northern California experienced. In terms of the largest fires, I can tell you that this year, right now, these two fires, the LNU lightning complex and the SCU lightning complex, which is essentially the Lake Berryessa area fire, including the one near Healdsburg, and then the one south of us in Alameda County, respectively, which also originated in Contra Costa County, are right now number 2 and number 3 for the largest fires in California's history. And I can't project what it is, but I think that one of them will likely take number 1. And the season is, I feel like it's just begun. So the 2020 fire season continues to be very dangerous in and around Contra Costa County. Talking about previously, October 27th last year, 2019, we had a wind-driven wildfire siege. We have historically high winds, I think of up to within 30 years. That was unprecedented. And it continued setting essentially 8 wildfires for us in the county in an 18-hour period. We also had a major commercial structure fire, a mass casualty incident in that time as well. And each fire represented a danger to life and property throughout the county. Now, fast forward to August 17th, we just experienced. The August 17th lightning siege started hundreds of fires across Northern California. And CAL FIRE is currently reporting that over 1 million acres have already burned. And we have multiple mega fires, including the LNU lightning complex and the SU lightning complex. And like I said, those right now in California's history for wildfire are at number 2 and number 3. They're running neck and neck. So what are we doing in the city of Lafayette and with the fire district? Well, we're working towards a safer Lafayette and also a safer region. We continue to work with the city of Lafayette and have a great relationship working with them. Like Chief Aldrich mentioned, there's numerous events that we've worked together on. Like he mentioned, the Spring Hill evacuation drill. There's been special training between law enforcement and fire for certain types of drills. And then the fire district itself has taken many improvements as well, including different things, including prevention planning. We've added additional resources, and we've also made improvements in terms of technology. In terms of prevention activities, the exterior hazards program essentially established requirements for and monitors the performance of weed abatement activities by property owners. So this is within a division of our fire district that goes out and surveys and also fields reports from citizens in terms of property owners that may have properties that have excessive brush overgrowth, and they go out and mitigate that by contacting the property owner. So last fire season, 2019 fire season, especially on October 27th, we had numerous firefighters that reported that the weed abatement that they saw had a direct effect of saving property on the fires that they were on. They had reports of fire essentially burning up that would have burned right up into the structure, but with weed abatement, it stopped and slowed the growth of the fire before it got to the structure. Our operations division supports prevention and pre and early season weed abatement and other mitigation efforts, including adding an additional fire dozer. So we now have two fire dozers within the county or in the fire district. We've also added a fuel mitigation crew, Crew 12, and Crew 12 has been online for a number of months now. And already so what Crew 12 is essentially 14 individuals that make up a hand crew. And this has proven very useful. What it allows to happen on a wildland fire is the engines first arrive to the fire. Crew 12 will be responding as well in 3 different vehicles with 12 to 14 people. They'll arrive and they'll be able to cut a fire line around the fire and start mopping up the fuels that are on the fire. So it saves our first engine companies tremendous amount of time on task by providing this crew that comes in and basically cleans up those wildland fires. It allows those fire engines to become available sooner. I want to talk about the North Iridium shaded fuel break as well. In terms of prevention activity, that was a partnership with Cal Fire, East Bay Mud, East Bay Parks, and many other partners. And it's basically 19.3 miles of a shaded field break that runs from near Ocalanis or Deer Hill across the Lafayette Ridge through Orinda and then up along the El Cerrito hill line between Orinda and El Cerrito. And so what that did is it provided a field break and a shaded field break, which provides a significant reduction in terms of the brush and fuel, so that if a fire is coming, it provides a much larger fire trail or fuel break, so that if fire is coming, it will slow or stop the fire for example, from Briones, from the north or the northeast. In additional resources that the fire districts added, Fire Station 16 reopened in 2019, so that's increasing the staffing in the city of Lafayette with an additional fire engine, 3 additional, which includes 3 firefighters on 24/7. And it's in that high threat area north of Highway 24. This brings Lafayette's fire resources to 3 full-time fire engine companies, so 15, 16, and 17. And so it's great to have them back. So it adds capacity and it also improves the response times for the citizens of Lafayette. We've had multiple improvements to fleet resources. So we've added 2 Type 6 wildland fire engines. So in the fire industry, we type everything. So we have Type 1 fire engine, which is typically what you see going to medical aids or going down the street or going to a structure fire. Type 1 is a large engine. It's the city engine, if you will, that you see most of the time. A Type 3 engine is an four-wheel drive off-road vehicle that's very large, and you'll see those on the brush fire engines, if you will. A Type 6 is a smaller brush engine or wildland fire engine, which allows it to be more maneuverable, a little bit faster, and to get into some tight areas. We also added 2 2,000-gallon water tenders. These are the large fire apparatus that have essentially just water. So they're able to supply additional water to fires that may not have fire hydrants right next to them. We added, like I mentioned, Type 2 fire dozer. We also added Crew 12, that fuel mitigation. Something that's very interesting and very new, which actually I don't think has been publicly announced, but we now have 2 helicopters, which we've had for a while with our partnership with Reach. And one of them is dedicated to being an EMS helicopter, so transporting patients far and distant areas for critical patients that may suffer trauma or be very acutely sick to the closest trauma center. But we also now have a fire EMS rescue helicopter. So the fire helicopter just became operational for aerial firefighting just within the last week. And so what that gives us is it gives us a fire helicopter that's in the county, ready to spin up and go and be to the city of Lafayette, for example, within minutes. So they'll be able to provide a bucket of about 150 gallons hanging from the bottom of the helicopter to be able to drop water on a fire, but it also we have a fire captain on that helicopter who's able to provide fire observation, see what's going on, and communicate with the troops essentially that are on the ground responding to the fire. Soon, it'll also have the ability for hoist rescue, and that's coming very soon. Additionally, from October 27th of last year, we learned a lot and we staffed an additional 21 companies. We still, to this day, have numerous reserve apparatus ready, and we staffed a number of these on in the last couple of weeks to support the various fires around us and also in our own county. We also added additional 115, or in process of adding 115 additional portable radios to these reserve apparatus so that our crews have standardized communications across all the apparatus. That was one of the shortfalls of the October 27th event, is that we didn't have standardized communications amongst all the reserve apparatus. So we're fixing that in the process of doing that right now. What planning activities have we done? Well, pre-positioning, which was introduced a few years ago by Cal OES, is essentially additional resources pre-positioned. They're both local and out of the region resources, fire resources that are paid for and reimbursed by Cal OES, but they're staffed by local firefighters and the equipment's provided by local agencies. Or in the case of an extreme event, such as an October 27th, 2019, we actually had a task force coming out from, I think, Central California that came up and supported our county as well. So it brings additional resources. So you have the normal resources that you have just on a daily basis, then you're upstaffing with additional resources locally with local assets and local personnel. And then on extreme events, if the resources are available, they'll come from outside the region and help pre-position or provide that additional capacity inside the county. The Residence Guide to Wildfire Preparation and Evacuation, Chief Aldrich mentioned this, and Duncan mentioned this as well. I can't tell you how popular this has been. Again, the city of Lafayette is a thought leader, and I'm going to give you another example of that later. But this document has been replicated throughout the county, and I've heard it's also been replicated outside of the county as well. So strong work to the city of Lafayette for spearheading that and taking that on. The La Miranda pre-planned evacuation zones. Again, here's another example of Lafayette being a thought leader. This is now a trend throughout California. And if you're looking at some of the maps, for example, if you find on Sonoma County's website, you'll see that their evacuation zones are preset and they're cut out. Well, Lafayette did this a number of years ago with La Miranda CERT. So they really led the trend in this. And now it's essentially a trend throughout the state of California and the region. So you'll see little pre-cut out evacuation zones. UASI grant to expand this program on a countywide basis for all the fire agencies throughout the county. That was approved. So the whole county is essentially going to be moving forward with the zone haven, like Chief Aldrich mentioned. What that does is it provides having those standardized evacuation zones. We have those on our phones, on our iPads, and the fire engines, and the police chief and all of his personnel have that as well. So when we're communicating and saying, hey, we want to evacuate Lafayette Zone 1, everyone's on the same page, from fire, police, CWS, and the Emergency Operations Center at the county. So again, strong work to the city of Lafayette for, again, leading the way, leading the charge in thinking about those evacuation zones. The fire district also, in terms of planning, has made policy changes for personnel and staffing. This resulted from the October 27th recalling additional staff. Like I said, we staffed an additional 21 pieces of equipment, and each piece of equipment can include 3 to 4 firefighters on it. So we memorialized that in policy. In terms of technology, John and Chief Aldrich mentioned the alert wildfire cameras. I'm not going to touch on everything John's already covered in terms of the description of what the cameras are capable of. I can't tell you how valuable these cameras are in Contra Costa County and what they're doing for fire management in the region. Let me pull up my notes. So it gives the fire management real-time actionable intelligence regarding a fire. So if we get notification from the dispatch center that the 911 caller has reported a fire, goes into the computer dispatch system, and depending on the incident or the call type, all fire management will get a notification, for example, if it's a wildland fire or a structure fire. And so what this allows us to do with the cameras is now we can task those cameras in real time to the location of that. And we now know before units have even arrived on scene, if it's significant, what the location of the fire is. And it's absolutely amazing. It's a game changer. It not completely, but it takes away a lot of the fog of war, if you will, for the fire department when they're responding to fires. It also provides fire management the ability to have, when we have fire units on scene, fire management can essentially watch that fire and see if it's significant. They can see the way that the smoke's laying down, the conditions, the color of the smoke, the location, the topography. And so it gives fire management the advantage, and the dispatch center the advantage to say, oh, they're probably going to need additional resources. They just haven't called for them yet. They don't, so we start actually pre-planning on these fires and seeing decreasing that fog of war and increasing that situational awareness. Again, phenomenal tool. Let me give you one example of this and the coordination with the city of Lafayette. On August 17th, with the lightning event, we staffed up additional equipment. We did all these things, but we also had a communication line, and John Cornell was able to support the fire agencies in the county by monitoring and being dedicated to monitor and task those cameras. He was on a countywide fire coordination channel, and it was absolutely a phenomenal tool to have in a partnership to have John and the City of Lafayette Police Department being able to support us with those cameras. Why is that? We couldn't fly helicopters on that day because of lightning. So we couldn't figure out where all the lightning strikes were in the county. And if we did have any additional lightning strikes, for example, we had one in the community of Rossmore. John was able to task the camera, confirm the location of the fire. There was a report of 2 fires. He ruled out one of them. And he was able to direct units to the scene, best access, so they can make access to that fire, because these fires are happening with the lightning siege on the tops of mountaintops and in areas that, roads essentially don't quickly access. So again, it was an absolute phenomenal tool, and all the fire management absolutely loved it. And the reason that it worked out so well is we just didn't have the staff that day to do that, and it was just a great partnership. Our dispatch center, by the way, in that day is normally staffed with 6 or 7 fire dispatchers. On that day, we had 12, and they weren't able to keep up with all the calls. Fire district, again, we can constantly maintain situational awareness, including utilizing tablet command, which is a response and incident management tool. So it provides us instant notification for calls and call types and units that are assigned. We can see the CAD notes. We can see our fire maps, including the fire alert wildfire cameras on an iOS or Android device. And we've actually, again, the city of Lafayette and Chief Aldred, I have to give him props. And I know it sounds repetitive, but he reached out to us and said, hey, what if we give that to essentially a couple sergeants, so then they can see what's going on from the fire's perspective in terms of what units are responding, what the location of those units are. So again, it gives the fire chief and the senior staff there at the Lafayette Police Department a better situational awareness of what the fire department's doing and what they're responding to. Pulse Point, the fire district and fire management also use Pulse Point, just like the citizens do. We get notifications a little bit faster on the tablet command platform, but we're able to monitor radio channels if we're not. We can listen to those dispatch channels just like the public can if we're not with one of our radios. For example, if we're out and about or we're on standby or monitoring from a fire management outside the county. So we do use Pulse Point. And again, we get CAD and National Weather Service notifications. Other technology is community warning system. We've exercised that frequently last season, continue to do drills, and including one, I think that may be coming up soon for the city of Lafayette. And again, Lafayette leads the county in terms of the number of residents that are registered, and that's by the leadership of your city. So I want to provide an example to the public of what happens when we have these fire weather events. What's the fire department doing? What's fire management doing? So on Friday, just to give you an example, on Friday, we got a fire weather warning. The National Weather Service issues a fire weather warning 12 to 72 hours before an event. We get instantaneous notification to fire and government officials, including a text message, as soon as they declare that fire weather warning. Fire management continues to monitor and watch for updated forecasts from the National Weather Service, and then we start planning additional equipment and staffing. When we get to the red flag warning, that's essentially 24 hours before the event, National Weather Service will issue that, and again, instant notification to fire and government officials, and fire management continues to monitor the event. But then at that point, we actually start doing things like pre-positioning requests, and we start putting things in place because we know that it's a sure thing. The pre-position requests, essentially, and I'll cover this in a little bit, we basically submit that to Cal OES, and we try to get, and based off the level of severity of the event, based off drawdown of how many resources, based off the weather in terms of what's forecasted for winds, we'll allow Cal OES to grant a certain level of resources that they will reimburse. And to prepare for that, and after it's all done, it's hundreds of labor hours inside of our organization and inside the county in terms of preparation and planning for that. Let me give you an example. So the most recent one, that we just had, which fortunately didn't hit, was the dry lightning predicted event on August 23rd. Excuse me. So on Friday, we received a fire weather watch at about 11 in the morning, and immediately all the fire chiefs are starting to communicate on a text group, and we start planning and we're monitoring that consistently. Then once it goes to a red flag warning, we make a formal pre-position request to Cal OES, and then the plan is executed once they approve that. If the pre-position request is denied by Cal OES, or it doesn't meet the threshold that the fire management deems necessary, we'll staff additional resources on top of that, paid for by the local agencies. So give you an example, pre-position resources for August 23rd. We had 6 additional engines, which is type 1s, type 3s, and type 6s. And those were from Contra Costa Fire, Pinole, East Contra Costa County Fire, San Ramon, Rodeo Hercules. We staffed Crew 12, which is normally a 10-hour unit. It's staffed 24 hours. We staffed a dozer. Our other dozer was on one of the fires at the in one of the lightning complex fires. So we staffed a dozer here locally, 2 water tenders. Air One, our helicopter, was paid for by Cal OES, and that's 24/7 available for either fire observation or bucket drops. Additional dispatcher, multiple chief officers, and we also staffed a radio tech for 24 hours in a local hotel that could quickly respond to our fire command vehicle. During the event and before the event, we continue to monitor the event in terms and watch for the number of incidents, and we're constantly watching for the alert wildfire cameras. On August 23rd, we preset again with John Cornell with the City of Lafayette Police Department. We had that plan all in place. If it started to pick up, then he would support us and we'd be on that common radio channel. So what can you do as a citizen to prepare? Duncan and Chief Aldrich are going to cover this or have covered this. So register with Community Warning System. If you haven't already, make sure you get your home and mobile phones registered. Prepare and have a plan. So there's multiple resources available to prepare and have a plan. Again, like the one I mentioned, Chief Aldrich and Duncan's mentioned, La Miranda Residence Guide to Wildfire covers almost everything. It covers everything you're going to need to know in terms of getting ready for a wildfire. Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, you can reference our website. And then there's also Ready, Set, Go, which is the state of California's planning website that you can go to as well for additional resources. You want to register with Nixle, and then you can also download the Pulse Point application, and you can subscribe to your local agency. For us, Contra Costa County Fire, and you get notifications for CPR, vehicle accidents, and wildfire. And again, with that Pulse Point application, you're able to monitor fire dispatch traffic, that the units are actually talking to the communication center, and you're hearing essentially what fire management's hearing as well. Citizen involvement is key in any disaster. We just can't do it alone. The first responder is the citizen who's preparing. So you got to get your families together, got to work together, got to plan ahead of the disaster. And this is the place to start for wildfire and other disasters. So again, in conclusion, again, we have a great partnership with the City of Lafayette. I would say it's the strongest relationship that the fire district has, and we appreciate it immensely, and we're doing great things together, such as, like I said, the Spring Hill evacuation drill, done cooperative training, the Alert Wildfire Camera Program, the La Miranda Residence Guide to Wildfire, the evacuation zones. It just goes on and on. And so I'm just always excited when Chief Aldrich calls me, because I know it's going to be some amazing idea, some epiphany that he's going to have, and I'm going to be like, that's an amazing idea. So it's just a great partnership. And the City of Lafayette's very lucky. I can say that both as a citizen, but also that I work to serve with the city. So thank you.
Thank you, Will. For those that are listening in, I know this part was going longer than I planned, mostly because of me. But I know we've had a lot of concern from our community, a lot of questions with the smoke in the air. And tonight we just wanted to take a minute to let you know what we're doing behind the scenes that you might not always hear about, see it in the news. We're not going to put out on social media all the stuff we're pre-planning. And the goal tonight is one, to give you advice on how to prepare your home and family, but also let you know your police and fire take this very seriously. For example, when I leave on a Thursday or Friday for the weekend, my car's fully fueled up, because I never know what's going to happen on the weekend. It's just the little things, but I appreciate the partnership we have with Confire. If I don't talk weekly with Will, it's unusual, and it's probably more than once, and many times it includes the weekend. So I appreciate Confire having a liaison, but also a liaison who lives in Lafayette and is invested in our community. I'm going to roll over to Duncan, who's going to talk about what La Miranda CERT has been doing over the last 12 or 18 months. And we'll quickly move from that to, and Duncan, you may just want to segue into agenda item B, which is how to prepare your home and your family. So as you're wrapping up what La Miranda CERT is doing for the community, you just can move on to that, and then Will and I can add in as needed. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Let me share my screen here. First,
Real quickly, Duncan, I just want to
yes.
add, Duncan does chair Emergency Preparedness Commission, but like every other commission in our council, he does this all free of charge as someone who loves this community. So just everything Duncan's going to show you tonight is stuff he's produced, he's done, and this is all free of charge from one of your local residents. So thank you, Duncan. Go ahead.
Cam asked for some information about the fire hazard severity zones and where the active fires are within the state right now. So on Monday morning, I took a snapshot of where the active fires were. And if I can get this to work. Several years ago, the state figured out where the fire hazard severity zones were for very high fire hazard, high, medium, and unzoned or low hazard. And they did this map. It has two different colors, codes in it. They're red like here and down here. Those are for local responsibility areas, meaning the local fire department is responsible for those areas. Whereas the pink is the same hazard. It's the very high, but it's a state or a federal responsibility area. So we have all the pink and the red are very high fire danger areas. Now, zooming in on this, you can see that we have quite a bit in our area here in Contra Costa. Mostly this is the Oakland Hills and the Briones area. So you can see a lot of Lafayette is in the very high fire severity zones. This is all North Lafayette, and a little bit down around the reservoir is very high fire danger. Now, if we look at the fires that were active Monday morning, you can see these big complex fires, LNU and that's
SCU, Duncan.
SCU, right?
Yep.
Okay, and the CZU over here. So these are spread out fires, but there are lots of fires going on Monday morning. When I superimposed the maps, you could see that these fires mostly started in pink or red zones in the very high fire danger areas. Once they get going, then they go into the high and moderate areas, but they mostly start in a very high fire danger area. And that's what we have right here. We didn't happen to have any fires in La Miranda, but we were definitely at risk. So moving on, let me share to another screen. We were talking about the zones in Lafayette. Lafayette Emergency Preparedness Commission started defining zones in 2015. This was well ahead of the curve. We were one of the first to do the zones, but they're not static. They have changed, and in fact, just today, we, if I can zoom in here, we changed. This was Lafayette 3, used to have all of Happy Valley and it came over to Acalanes High. This was all Zone 3. But because on Monday night, the City Council approved the Terraces project, which will be 315 units. So that's, maybe 600 people. That's a lot of people to add into a zone. So we have broken Zone 3 into 2. So the new one is now Zone 19. So all of this is a very, very active, very flexible system for defining zones. And this is all based on the Zone Haven company's zones for how to manage evacuations. So the risks are different here than they are here. And getting the people out of Zone 3, we have evacuation routes, these red routes. This will allow us to manage traffic from Zone 19 differently than from Zone 3. So we've done quite a bit in changing this, and the evacuation plan booklet that is available on the city website is a 2018 version, and we are currently revising it. So our zones are slightly different, and the whole look and feel of the booklet will be different as soon as we get all of the Zone Haven data into our book. It's our data, but they use it in their planning, and so we're using the maps that they print out. And let's see. This is what the Zone Haven book looks like. So this will be part of our book. This is Zone 2, which is the Villa Roble zone. That has all the information that's needed for responding mutual aid law enforcement people.
Hey, Duncan,
Yes.
your screen did not change. Are you trying to zoom in on Zone 2?
Oh, yes, I'm, let's see. Let me stop the share and share again. Can you see the traffic control points?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, this is Zone 2. And this is the data that goes into the book so that mutual aid law enforcement officers can come in and know where our traffic control points are, what personnel is needed for them, the potential routes through the zone, and the potential arrival points. And the arrival points are the points where we send people either to a temporary holding area or to an on-ramp to a freeway, to an exit, so they can get out of the area. So this is all the information that is in the Lafayette evacuation plan as it's being updated currently. So just today, they divided the Zone 3 into 3 and 19. Okay. And if I can.
So confirm, Duncan, we'll move on to item B. Is that correct? Is that what you're doing?
Yes, this is the preparedness.
Yeah. So as Duncan's pulling up his screen, a lot of these, most of what he's going to share tonight is already contained within the Loma Residence Guide to Evacuation and Preparedness Guide. So again, we have this soft copy available on the city's website, and you should have all received one in the mail, but if you don't have one or lost it, we'll have additional hard copies in front of the PD. Feel free to come by and grab one.
Hey, Duncan.
Okay.
Duncan and Ben, this is Cam. Just a
Yes.
quick question before I forget. The updates to the evacuation zone, given what was done today, when do you think that will publish online for residents to see? Will that be available before we really get into the thick of things with potential PSPS events?
It will be online electronically within a week or so,
Okay,
but
fantastic.
the booklet itself will take more like a month.
Okay, but online, folks can go online and,
They can go to the Zonehaven website and see it.
okay.
And we'll have a link to that.
So
just
yeah,
to-
maybe, yeah, sorry, Ben, go ahead.
Just to follow up on that, we share our zones freely with the public. There's no secrets there. And really the goal when sharing with the public is letting you know just another layer of planning that we have in place. But whether you're in zone 5 or 7, won't change what you should be doing for your family. We'll use it to put out controlled CWS alerts to better manage traffic. But as someone who lives in zone 5 versus 7 or 1, that we don't want you to lose sleep over that. And so
Okay.
that process can be ongoing. We may look at subdividing another zone in the future. But that really comes back to the police and fire management of safely evacuating people, understanding we have limited roadways, and really doing that systematically so we get people safely out. And so it's a management tool that we share freely. It's open to the public to see, but you don't need to memorize your zone to be better prepared. So just throw that out there.
Great, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Duncan.
Right. Now, I trust that you can all see the yellow screen here.
Yep, looks good.
Okay. So, and this again is from the cover of the booklet, how to get ready, stay informed, evacuate, and recover. And each of these is a very important part. So you should read the booklet because recovery can be very troublesome if you're not ready. If you don't start at the beginning and you don't do all the steps to be ready, then recovery, especially if a wildfire comes through and takes your home, recovery can be very tough if you haven't gotten ready in a systematic route. So I'm just going to cover a little bit here. The red flag warning is issued when something is coming up within the next 24 hours. Then we have a pre-evacuation warning. It's just telling the public that it's highly likely that we will have to evacuate. It's not an evacuation order. It's just an advice that it's highly likely that we will have one. And then the evacuation order is a mandatory order. It's a legal order saying you have to get out. Now, there are questions about how much it can be enforced and so forth, but if you value your life, get out. That's simple. Okay, we've talked about CWS. The thing that many people don't understand about the community warning system, they think that they have a landline and that CWS can call it. But if your supposed landline is billed by anyone other than AT&T, and it's not the old copper wire, because the county knows about the copper wire AT&T phones. But if you have a landline phone that comes over the internet, say a Comcast or Vonage or Magic Jack or any other voice over IP phone that comes through your internet, then the county doesn't know about that. You have to register that just like a cell phone. Register that so the county will know how to contact you. Okay, getting ready for a fire, for an evacuation. Lots of people talk about go bags or bug out bags or a good bag. Good stands for get out of Dodge. So whatever you call it, it's just something that will get you through 72 hours. I've worked shelters where people come in, I've seen them come in their night clothes, and they were driven to the shelter, so they don't have their car, they don't have wallets, they don't have anything. All they have is the night clothes that they came in. They don't have medication, so forth. So if they had a go bag that had everything they would need that they could just grab on their way out the door, then it would make a shelter a lot more livable. Shelters are not nice places to be in. You never want to go to a shelter if you can help it. But if you have to go there, having a go bag makes it infinitely more livable. Also, when you have a go bag ready, if you get a shelter at home or shelter in place order, where because of a toxic cloud or something, you have to shelter in place, you can't get out, it makes it a lot easier for you to live if you have that bag all together, so you can take it into a room, seal the room off, and you have it ready to go. You should have a bag for every member of your household and a bag for your pets. And don't forget your pets. Keep it where it's easy to reach, garage, hall, closet, something like that, where you can grab it on the way out. And what goes into the bug out bag? Clothes, shoes, medicine, so forth. The next slide will go into a little more detail on it, but water, yes, have a little bit of water, a couple of bottles or canisters of water, but food isn't so important. We talk about the rule of threes, where you can survive for 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter from extreme weather, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. You can last a long time without food. So don't worry about it too much. And when you get to a shelter, they'll have food for you, but make sure that you have a little bit of water. What goes into a go bag? Weather appropriate clothing. And remember, even in the summer, it gets cold at night sometimes. So make sure you have a jacket in there. Take care of special concerns for children, elderly, people with special needs, your pets, so forth. And throw in extra eyeglasses and hearing aid batteries and so forth. Make sure that you have government issued ID and your medical ID cards. Because if you're in a shelter, you need to be able to say, this is who I am, and this is my medical record number, so they can go get their prescriptions for you, so forth. And always have enough cash for 3 tanks of gas. That's sort of a general rule of thumb for the amount of cash that will sustain you for a short period of time, whether it's buying gas or other things. That's probably in the $150 range. It's just a good amount to have on you so that you can buy stuff. And if stores don't have power, they may not be able to make change. So make sure that you have small bills. Also, photograph all of your important documents. If you went to a shelter and your house burned down, would you remember your insurance agent's name and your policy number? Could you prove that you even owned the home or that you had a lease agreement or whatever? So these are the sort of things that you want to just photograph these documents, keep them in your cell phone, put them in the cloud, but have them accessible so that when you go to what we call a local assistance center, which is the center that's opened after a disaster, when you go there to start rebuilding your life, you want to be able to show them these documents. It makes it a lot easier to get everything moving. And when you evacuate, try to evacuate in one car. If you evacuate in two cars, you have twice as much crowding of the road. You're contributing that much more to congestion. So try to do it in one car if you can, and take your pets with you. Don't think you're going to come back for them. It's not going to happen. Put an evacuation sign in your front window where it can be seen from the street. This is really important because when first responders, when fire and police and CERT members come through to do a check of the neighborhood, if they can see a sign in the front window that says you have evacuated, they don't have to worry about that house. If they see need help, they know they have to stop and do something about it. If you don't have a sign in your front window, they have to check the house. So this just saves a lot of time. Where can you get these? We have a lot of them being printed right now by Minuteman Press in Lafayette. So they're available there. And we have them, we're working with the chamber and have many local businesses have these signs available. Like I know Pastino's and the Coop and Diablo Foods and some others have these available, and they're hard cardboard so that you can put them up in your window. Please make a donation when you get them and keep them handy. For more information on all of your questions about evacuation, you can go either to the Loma Linda CERT website at evacuate.lomarindacert.org or onto the Lafayette Are You Ready website at that address, the bit.ly/Lof Are You Ready.
All right.
And that's it.
Well, Duncan, I appreciate it. Again, Duncan will never take credit for anything. I try, but your Emergency Preparedness Commission, and many are logged on tonight, they dedicate a lot of time to this effort. And if I didn't have this team, you wouldn't have seen half this stuff done in the last 2 years that I get to take credit for, 2+ years now. So thank you to Duncan and others that are logged on tonight. One of the values of having these commissions in your town, in the city of Lafayette, is a lot of free work, but a lot of good work, a lot of hard work is done. So thank you, Duncan, for all your diligence. And of course, with Loma Linda CERT, if you're interested in becoming a CERT member, go visit their website, Loma Linda CERT. If you would like to be a part of, during an emergency, be able to support your fellow citizens and having some training. Obviously with COVID, that's made it a little more challenging to go through that training course. But a lot of useful tools, not only for your family, but to better serve your community if you're looking for a way to actively participate. We're going to move to agenda item C and then get this wrapped up so we can go to questions. I'm going to share this real quick. A lot of you may have seen, apologize, let me go to share screen. So Moraga and Orinda had a virtual evacuation exercise, and Lafayette was third in line to do this. Dennis Rain from Moraga and Fire, who also serves through a grant that we get through the Sheriff's Office OES, partially pays for some of his salary for him to proactively be a part of our emergency planning here in the city of Lafayette, along with our commission, Emergency Preparedness Commission. And so Moraga and Orinda went first, and Lafayette was coming up next. So for August 29th, we've started advertising, but if you haven't seen it, please pay attention. On August 29th, this coming Saturday, we're going to do a virtual evacuation drill. The main goal of this drill is that we had a huge increase in the community warning system signups. And many of you that have signed up have never actually received an alert on your phone or through any other device that you signed up for. And so we want to have an exercise where you get that alert, you see that it's a drill, an exercise. I don't want you to freak out, but you've gone through the practice of seeing what an alert looks like. How far you want to take the drill on Saturday is up to the individual. If you on Friday want to get your family together and put your go bags together, and when you get the alert on Saturday morning, actually want to get your family and your go bags and walk out to the car and just simulate it, or simulate going to your neighbors to check on them and knock on their doors. It's up to the individual how far you want to take it. You can either see the alert and roll over and go to sleep. That's fine too. But practice and thinking ahead through the process is super valuable. Police and fire, that's what we do all the time. We do role playing, we do debriefs. You say, what did you do right? What did you do wrong? And just like we tell you to tell your kids, if you get in a traffic accident, what do you need to do? Pull to the side of the road, make sure you have your license, registration, insurance, exchange information, call the police, etc. Thinking ahead of what you're going to do during an emergency is very, very valuable. Don't wait until the crisis to say, what do I need to grab? Don't wait till the crisis to say, what does this look like? Get my family out to the car and make sure we have the proper resources to be successful. So how you want to take this drill or how far you want to take it on Saturday is up to you. But starting around 7:45 to 8 a.m., your police, fire, lumber, and CERT and CWS will be going through a tabletop exercise over Zoom. And fairly quickly, we're going to identify that we need to start sending out evacuation warnings. And various zones within Lafayette will start to receive an evacuation notice from CWS. Again, this is a drill. And shortly later, the entire town, everyone that signed up for CWS will have received a notice to evacuate. Again, this is a drill. And if you were signed up, you will be getting an alert Saturday morning around 8 a.m., give or take 15 minutes. Again, it'll say drill on the notice. We have left a caveat in that if come Thursday, Friday, tomorrow or Friday, if weather conditions, fire conditions have changed, we may cancel it just so we don't create undue panic. But we like to move ahead with this. Again, we've had so many people in our community support us in signing up for CWS, but we want you to see and feel what that alert looks like ahead of a crisis. After that, you will receive a survey. And if you do not receive an evacuation alert, we please encourage you to contact CWS or just contact your Lafayette Police Department and let us know you thought you were signed up and didn't get the alert, and we'll figure out what the issue was there. In wrapping up our presentation, we talk about evacuation warnings, but at any point you feel that you need to leave your home because of conditions, you don't have to wait for that evacuation order to leave. You're welcome to leave ahead of that. If you have members in your household who are reliant on medical devices, have mobility issues, get out sooner than waiting for the evacuation order. Worst case scenario, you take a little road trip and come back home and everything's fine. If you got large animals, leave ahead of that evacuation order. Those things will make you better prepared, more successful. Yes, we're going to issue evacuation orders when necessary, but if you think you need to leave, you're good to go. Leave and take a road trip, go to the Sun Valley Mall when it's open, or take a trip to Livermore or whatever else, and worst case scenario, come back home and everything's fine. But you don't have to wait for that evacuation order to leave your home. Real quickly, again, we went through a lot of things quickly. A lot of this stuff is contained within the Lawmaker and Residents Guide to Wildfire Preparedness Evacuation. If you're having difficulty downloading it from the city website, if you don't feel comfortable coming out to the police department and grabbing a copy, please reach out to me or reach out to Jeff Heyman at the City of Lafayette. We will figure out a way to get you a copy so you can have your family prepared. So please don't let that be a drawback. If you didn't get all the notes taken down tonight through our presentation, we have the information readily available, we want to share it, please let us know and we'll do everything we can to get you that information. Also in that guide, we talk about weather radios. It's another resource for community warning system to issue alerts through a weather radio. I won't go into detail, but it's a very inexpensive option, especially if you live in an area that has limited cell phone reception, to better enhance your ability to receive that warning during a crisis. So a lot of good stuff in there. I know Duncan's already working on a update to the lawn manager residence guide, but we try to be proactive. And again, I'm really excited to see so many people on, and I'll turn it back over to Councilmember Burks. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief, and thanks everybody for the presentations. We'll open it up for questions in a minute, but let's bring it back to the council. And I've got a question, some comments, but I'd like to turn to Councilmember Bliss first. If you've got anything you'd like to ask or say.
Yeah, just a quick comment and then a question, really mostly just to lift up one particular resource for the community. So first of all, thank you for the presentations, all of you. I mean, remarkable. And just, I know that people watching online appreciate all the information, just the various efforts being done on behalf of our community and in the sense of public safety. So thank you for that. Really impressive the amount of work that's gone into this and the resources. And I just want to underscore just the degree of innovation across all these different individuals and these different agencies. So thank you for that. It's really been a hallmark of emergency preparedness in Lafayette. The one thing I just wanted to just draw a bright line under was the emergency preparedness guide, which I know a lot of work went into that. Can you just remind, I know it's available at various places online. If you could just, for the benefit of our audience, remind people where they can download that great yellow guide, which I've used myself actually in terms of getting my family and my house ready for an evacuation and for an emergency. Can you just remind people where they can download that PDF from? I know it's a couple different places.
Yeah, Jeff, do you want to take that and just highlight where you put it on the city website? Just
Yeah,
make it easier to
absolutely.
find.
Here, let me just get this going. I'm going to share my screen here.
Again, this should have been mailed to your home last year, but again, you may have thrown it out, not realizing what it is or whatever. We've got plenty of copies stacked up at the PD, but we also do have it downloadable. And again, just to reiterate, if you need a hard copy and you don't know where to find one, you can email us at 94549tip@gmail.com, and that goes to your police department, and we will get you a copy. We'll figure it out, mail it to you, bring it by, whatever. So go ahead, Jeff.
Well, probably the easiest place to find it would be under hot topics right here. And here you have it's right at the top.
Great. Thank you.
And you click on that, it'll do it. And let me just show you one other thing. We also have under residents, you come down. Of course, these are one of these things like you never want to try live, but here we are. Yep, we have public safety, and then are you ready? Which is a whole preparedness section. So residents, public safety, are you ready? Click on that. And then here we have all kinds of resources, including the guide. But the easiest one would be the hot topics from the homepage.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Jeff. And thanks everyone else. That's all I had. Just wanted to thank everybody and signal that resource and where people can find it. And I'll give it back to Councilmember Burks.
Thank you, Councilmember Bliss. And Jeff, thank you very much. Duncan, go ahead.
Yeah, if I can comment. Also, it's available, as are many other resources, at evacuate.lamarindacert.org.
Excellent. Thank you, Duncan. Well, excellent. I've just got a few things to say, and then we'll get it open to public comment. We've still got about 60 people online, which is fantastic. I just can't thank you all online enough for the partnership. To hear Will talk about the strongest relationship between Confire and Lafayette, and to graciously talk about the thought leadership that the city's demonstrated in partnership with the fire district and with CERT. Those are just great things. And, I want to thank Chief Richard first and foremost, and Will first and foremost to you and the partnership there. Sheriff Livingston on the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department side, and Ben, your leadership, John and Duncan. We've got, residential, volunteers. I mean, that's what the city is all about. And it's just fantastic. And to hear, tonight, I'd heard inklings of it before, Jeff, but to hear that we've got the AM band radio station that's set up and ready to go. We're doing some amazing things here. And I think, it is, in my 25 years of public safety, preparedness is everything. It enables execution. Walking through a drill, even if it's virtual on Saturday, if we go through with this, if the weather is absolutely the right thing to do. The more we participate and ask the community to engage in these drills, that's the only way we're going to learn. So a couple of things that I've taken away, and then just one question. For those of you on the line tonight, you are the ambassadors of our town right now in terms of the latest up-to-date information on wildfire preparedness, evacuation capabilities that our officials have put into place. Please talk about this stuff with your neighbors that weren't able to dial in tonight. I know we can't do barbecues and dinner parties and things right now, but set up some coffee Zooms if you could. I'm begging you just to share some of the things, even if it's just to go through the website links and so forth. But please get the word out. It's really, really important. I just can't emphasize enough the preparing the go bags. I've done this my entire career. When I was a diplomat, I was working at embassies where we would have to go at any moment. So we always had a bag. It was required. I drag my kids through it every year in July, and everything is stacked up in my garage right now next to my SUV that's fully fueled all the time. And I back it in and we're ready to go. We know where the dog food is. We know where the cat carriers are. We know I've taken photos of every document in the world and downloaded them, uploaded them into the cloud. All of those things, they take a little time, but you just have to plan a weekend and get them done. That's the new normal, as well as the Assistant Chief Pigeon talked about. It's what we're living through. And I've seen it firsthand in multiple countries where folks haven't done that. And they go back saying they wish they would have in a really, really serious way. So please do that. If anybody wants to come by my house and look at my go bags, come on by. I'll show you what we've done. We do have the A team here, and we have the A team organizations ready to go to put their lives on the line for us. And for that, I am personally grateful, and my family is as well, and the town is. And you have our utmost appreciation and respect. But for my neighbors and my community members, we can't leave it up just to our first responders. We have to play our part in this, and we have to support our neighborhoods. We have to understand where, the folks say, for example, on my street, I know exactly where the folks that aren't able to move quickly, whether by age or by medical condition, need help. So we've divvied up houses between some of our families to take care of each other. We have to do our role in enabling our first responders to do their role, to help them stay as safe as possible, to understand that we need to be ready to go and pack those bags and hang those signs. I mean, that is critical. I have 2 of them in my front living room right now against my couch, ready to go up onto the window, and a door handle one as well that I have. So please understand that don't just rely completely 100% on our first responders. Play an active role. Last thing I'll say really is from the city council perspective, I'll speak on my behalf. Councilmember Bliss might feel the same, but I won't put words in his mouth. In terms of resources, it's been a tough year with the coronavirus and the city's budget. We've done very well based on excellent fiscal policies and our city staff and Tracy and Jennifer and Narup, and a legacy of Lafayette really conserving money for an emergency fund out of our general fund that's carried us through with a strong balance sheet. So we do have funds. We're going to get through this pandemic, but you have my commitment for always supporting, anything we need on the public safety side. And I think the council has demonstrated that historically. Tools you need, resources you need, innovative ideas you need to execute on. We always know that you do it in the most fiscally conservative way. And you talked about the generator that you got at the salvage yard. I mean, you make things happen in the right way to the taxpayer, and I appreciate that, and for that you have our confidence. So you're gonna get yeses, a lot of yeses, especially in situations like this. Cert, Duncan, I just can't. You are an incredible leader. Your team, being associated with emergency preparedness when I was on crime prevention, and then when I was on the council, I couldn't be more proud of you and your team. I would really encourage folks to look into joining CERT and becoming a volunteer and learning about it. It is incredibly important to the community and rewarding. And a lot of the skills that you take from that, you can bring home and help your family with right on the spot. So really do think about that. It's a tremendous program, and Duncan is and all of his colleagues on the commission are tremendous leaders. Last thing I do want to say is just one question. Is there any, and maybe Will or the chief or Duncan? I'm sorry, John. I did want to mention John Cornell real quick. It was a fantastic presentation. I think, on the camera side, we have a real asset in John and what he's brought to bear. And the examples that Assistant Chief Pigeon gave tonight, and specifically on the Rossmore fire that I'd heard about before. I mean, just phenomenal, profound. And John, I want to thank you for what you've done, how you've developed, how in your leadership that you've brought to bear in saving people, and the city owes you a debt, and I'm really proud of you. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
One last question. We're in a pandemic. Where we need to socially distance. We need to wear masks. We need to take non-pharmaceutical intervention methods. If there's a wildfire, if there's not a wildfire. Are there any thoughts that Will or Ben or Doug, anybody might have in terms of if we do need to evacuate, if we need to go to an evacuation center, what we might need to prepare for in addition? I mean, I've personally packed a stack of N95 masks and hand sanitizer. I mean, the extra stuff I probably wouldn't have had last year, maybe, but the twist of the pandemic this year, how does that integrate into the planning?
So I know Brianna Taylor, in fact, she may even be on tonight, knowing her. She's our Red Cross representative and happens to be a Lafayette resident. I know they've been working on a lot of protocols for setting up an evacuation center during the COVID-19 crisis. I think the best thing, what you just mentioned, Councilmember, is preparing to have your own mask preset in your go bag so that when you get there, you have the ability to protect yourself and others. I go back to, there is an element of priority of life, and if you got to get out of the fire, you got to get out of there, and you got to go somewhere. There's a balance, right? We got to get out of there. We got to go to evacuation center. When we get there, we're going to do the best we can to make sure that we have that social distancing, have the masks, while still providing that aid to folks that just potentially lost everything or have nothing when they show up. So it's a balance test. We've had the same discussion with cooling centers and with PSPS resource centers, and what is that going to look like this year? I think, again, going back to what you said, is as a citizen that is going to evacuate or show up and need a cooling center or a PSPS resource center, showing up with your proper mask on, bringing your own hand sanitizer is going to put us that much further ahead of the curve. And I know our Red Cross and other agencies are working hard to how to reestablish social distancing within that center. So it's been ongoing. I don't know if we have all the answers yet, but it's been an ongoing discussion. If you show up better prepared as an individual, it's going to make us much more successful.
Okay, great.
Will, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, Councilmember Burks. Also, just from fire's perspective, fire management in the state is considering this in terms of these large campaign fires that they're managing. I can speak firsthand. I was at the SU Lightning Complex base camp last week, and there's a person checking fire personnel in, scanning their temperature with a video, maintaining 6 feet for all fire personnel. And the same goes true for the evacuation centers. I haven't seen it firsthand, but I know they're looking at the Red Cross and these large campaign fires are looking at evacuation points and considering those things and making sure they have enough space. I know we've talked about it amongst fire management here. When you're looking into an evacuation zone, make sure you got to start planning for COVID to have enough space for all those people. So it's definitely being considered. I wish there was, I think people are figuring it out, to be honest, and building it right now. With it, this ultimate test of this lightning siege is, just that. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, with that, why don't we open it to up to the public, and for either questions or comments. So we'll do the normal comment period of 3 minutes. If you have a question, that's fine. I've asked Chief Aldrich to note your question, and then at the very end, he'll run through the questions and dole them out. And Chief Pigeon, if it's okay with you, and Duncan and John, if it's okay with you, maybe Ben will direct questions to Ben. We found this is the most efficient way to do it, but this is a town hall, so I do want to respond to questions and not just take public comment and say thank you. So, but please keep your questions or comments to 3 minutes, and then we'll get back to you at the end. Jeff, if that's okay, and if you do have a question or a comment, raise your hand and Jeff will guide us through.
All right. Well, great. Thanks, Councilmember Burks. We've got 3 hands up right now. And if you do want to make a comment or ask a question, use the raise your hand function at the bottom of your screen, or *9 if you're on the phone. So, whoops. Well, it went down to 2 after that. Okay. So the first person in is Andreas Cucciato, followed by Jeff K. So Andreas will be joining the meeting now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm just starting my video. So I understand the virtual evacuation is going to happen. Will that include the public radio alert, or would that not get triggered? I know the test for those NOAA public alert radios happened today at 12. And I'm wondering, let's see if my camera, I don't know why my camera is not working. Sorry. I was going to show it to you. So is that going to happen? And I think one of the chiefs was referring to these weather radios, and it almost seems like they're misnamed. They do provide weather, but I think one of the most important things about them is the alert system over that radio frequency. And I think from what we've learned from the Tubbs incident in camp, when those infrastructure networks go down, the cellular networks and/or power, these are still something that I think is an important device. Wondering if that's going to be tested as well during the virtual evacuation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andres.
Hey, Cam.
Yeah, Ben.
Respectfully, since we only have a few hands up, we can just address these. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I don't see any more coming up, Jeff.
Well, thanks for advertising that radio for us. That was a perfect example. So thank you. I did get a confirmation from Dennis Rain that they will be tested on Saturday as part of this process. I'll do a double check with Heather Tiernan from CWS. But if you'd like to email me directly, I can send you a reply back once I just do a final confirmation tomorrow. But my understanding is yes, but I'm glad you brought that up because I really hadn't thought about that for Saturday. So thank you.
Thank you.
My email is baldred at well, I'll tell you what.
I have it.
Okay.
I have it.
Perfect. Thank you. But thanks for advertising those radios. Redundancy is important. If we just rely on our cell phone, we run the risk of failing ourselves and our families. So thank you for advertising that and bringing that up, and we'll do a double check. But if you can shoot me an email in the next couple hours or tomorrow morning, I'll do a double check and we'll advertise that appropriately that we are. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andres.
Okay, so we have a couple of hands up. We have Jeff K followed by Kai Mack next, but here comes Jeff K into the meeting now. Hey, Jeff, you're in the meeting, so go ahead and unmute yourself, and you can turn on your video too if you'd like.
There we go. I'll forego the video if that's okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it'll just take longer to set up the video. And the audio is the most important. So I have 2 kudos and a question. The first is I want to heartfeltly thank you for this meeting. This is such an important meeting, and I'm so thrilled by all the effort and the focus you've put into keeping the community safe. I live in what was probably now formerly known as Zone 1 at the very north end of Zone 1. And I can't tell you how much more peacefully I'll sleep now, knowing that I'll be safe should I wake up in the middle of the night and see an orange glow outside my window. Secondly, I want to specifically thank Duncan and the CERT team for preparing the community in a real hands-on manner. I took the CERT class earlier this year while it was still being offered in person. It was excellent, and the resources that you've put together and the training that you provided are really invaluable. In fact, I was able to use my sort of emergency medical skills earlier this week on someone down at a skate park. So I wouldn't have been able to do that if it weren't for you. Thank you very much. My question is about this weekend's virtual evacuation. I received an email about the evacuation exercise, and it was pretty detailed, but I'm not sure who has been notified about the evacuation exercise. So that's the root of my question. In fact, I was just on the LARIG ham radio net earlier tonight and asked around with some of the other operators on that net, and not all of them received notification. So my concern is that between now and Saturday morning, if there aren't more email notifications or other form of notification going out, that people might be very surprised and might misinterpret the exercise as a real event at 7:30 while they're still groggy. Can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Jeff. We began advertisement about a week and a half ago through the daily or weekly roundup. We began pushing it out through the city and PD social media sites. And then tomorrow we will be sending out a nixle. It's one of the few times I'll send out a nixle just for something like this, but the nixle will be advising all users that we are having this drill on Saturday morning. So our hope is for those that haven't heard about it, that the nixle will hopefully pick up the few that haven't. And I'll be honest with you, that was one of the challenges with hosting a drill like this, is trying to get the word out to all 8,100 people that are signed up for CWS. And so that's why we had discussions about not doing it if the smoke was too heavy in the air, we had fires too close, so that we don't want to create undue panic. We are reevaluating it tomorrow, whether it's a go, but there will be a nixle coming out tomorrow around noon, advising all of those that are signed up for nixle that we are having this drill on Saturday morning. And the drill will clearly state in the alert that this is a drill, this is a drill. But Jeff, if you have contacts with ham radio operators, that we'd be happy to send you the flyer, the PDF version, if you have a group that you want to share it with. I know Duncan's been sharing it. We recently shared it with the chamber. So open to any other groups that you think would benefit from advertisement, and just please reach out to me and I'll send you that PDF flyer. So thank you for your question.
And I
Thank you
just
very
wanted to
much.
add, go ahead, Jeff.
I was just saying, thank you very much. It's very informative, and I think tomorrow's nixle alert would be sufficient.
Okay.
And I'll be walking around within my neighborhood to alert all my neighbors that are not already signed up to please sign up on CWS and nixle and make sure they're aware of the event. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you.
Right. And then we did get it out also on social media and on Nextdoor, which has 15,000, reaches 15,000 folks. Then we'll do another round of notifications on social and via messaging on Friday.
Thanks, Jeff. Councilmember Bliss, do you have any questions or comments for the speaker? Okay. All right, Jeff, thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate it. Should we go to the next speaker, Jeff?
Yeah, so we have Kai Mack, I believe, is the pronunciation, and followed by Dennis Teen. So here comes Kai.
All right. Can you all hear me?
Hi, Kai.
Hey, all. Hey, amazing presentation. Just the amount of work you all are doing to keep us safe is absolutely amazing. So thank you all. Quick tactical question. So I love the cameras all being put up. I think it's amazing. I love that you talked about all the helicopters and the fire trucks. Have you all thought about actually buying drones, knowing that they're usually low in cost and you can deploy quickly? I heard that you might put the police chief up in a copter to basically captain what's going on, but it almost seems easier if you could just throw a few drones up there and get to it right away. Seems low cost as well. Anyways, we'll love any comment there. And then what do you think about the public putting drones up? I assume that's probably not a good thing to do during times of fire, but would love to kind of hear your thoughts there. Thanks.
Yeah, Kai, great question. So I'll let, I know Will and Confire have been working on a drone program. I'll let him talk about that shortly. Your Lafayette Police Department has been invested in drones over the last several years. We currently have probably the most, I'll say, updated drone within the county as far as I know. John Cornell on the call is our lead person within the county on the drone team with the sheriff's office, and we currently have one that does infrared. Actually, he can probably tell you more. So it is a resource, and I'll let Will take it from here, but I would just say for local citizens to throw a drone up in the air during a firefight operation would not be a good idea. Knowing that police and fire do have drones, and then you also, whether or not Confire's helicopter is available or the sheriff's office helicopter available, you have a high likelihood that CAL FIRE will retask aerial resources. So CAL FIRE they have a limited air resources, and right now they're committed to a lot of fires. But their statement is that if a new fire kicks off, that will take a priority for aerial resources based on the need at that time. And as you saw from October, both helicopter and airplane were a big part of that success in putting that fire down. So the local resident during fire, please don't put your drone up. But Will, if you want to take it from what Confire is doing with drone work.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the fire service, drones are fairly new, I think, to public safety all in all, and there's tremendous value in utilizing those. For Confire specifically, we have just recently established a formal drone program. So a number of our personnel that are on duty do have that capability to launch a drone when requested by the incident commander when there's a need. In terms of launching a drone from the public's perspective, in reference to Chief Alderett, he mentioned CAL FIRE. So in the state and mutual threat zones inside of Lafayette, which includes basically everything that borders Briones, there's state responsibility area, which is CAL FIRE's jurisdiction for the state of California for fire jurisdiction. We're going to get any type of veg fire. We're going to get essentially, probably not right now with the drawdown that we have potentially, that we have throughout the whole state of California. But normally you'll get 2 air tankers, an air attack, and a CAL FIRE helicopter on that response. And then it could be augmented with our local Confire Air 1 helicopter and also the Sheriff's Star helicopter as well. When you put a drone up in the air, if that's noticed or seen or reported, or if any of CAL FIRE units see that, they will not come into the area until that drone is secured. They just will not fly. It happened, there was a fire, it was either last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember, but it was in the town of Moraga, over in the canyon area, right near the bridge. There was a fire in there that had very difficult access, and they requested specifically CAL FIRE aircraft to assist, and a CAL FIRE helicopter and air attack. Air attack is basically a fixed wing aircraft that's basically just doing orbiting, and it maintains the airspace, and it's the air traffic controller for all those fire assets that are coming in and dropping retardant or water from the helicopter. They specifically would not approach by 7 miles to avoid that drone, because that drone was airborne. So from the public's perspective, I would say absolutely do not fly a drone anytime there's fire, because it could actually, it's potentially unsafe to any aircraft that are in the area. But CAL FIRE will just, if they know that they have a drone that's up, that's not controlled by somebody else and not controlled by public safety, they will not come in. And so it could really inhibit the CAL FIRE and the aviation assets that are helping to assist that fire. So great question.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate it because John from our team over at the PD has flown a drone before, and there is constant communication between police and fire. If we do have a drone up, what is his elevation? And then they, potentially make an assessment. You put your drone down, or we're good if you're at that elevation. Where we found the drone really successful with fire is coming in after the incident and really doing really good mapping with the drones, so that as we do that debrief or after action report, whether it's structural fires or else, having a drone come in there at a low cost, like you said, a low cost ability to do effective mapping to provide intel for future incidences. Again, I know John has done a lot with Confire on structure fires throughout the county and doing mapping after the fact. So Kai, I really appreciate your question. It's definitely something we're working on and trying to figure out best moves forward. But John definitely likes his drones, by the way.
Thanks for the intel. Appreciate that.
All right,
you.
Councilmember Bliss, do you have any questions to Speaker? No, okay. All right, Kai, thanks very much for calling in. Appreciate it.
Okay, so next we have Dennis Teen coming in.
I think I'm on now.
Hi, Dennis.
Hey, so I apologize for my fumbly texting skills, but I wanted to set a couple things straight. This is Dennis Rain. I'm the Emergency Preparedness Coordinator. First, I think great participation and great work by everybody on the call tonight. So awesome. I was madly texting Ben about the evacuation drill on Saturday, and the question about using the weather alert radio system. I just want to make a quick correction while folks are still on the call, that we will not be using that weather alert radio, that system to test. And the issue there is that it reaches such a broad area, the transmitter's up on Mount Diablo, so it would literally wake up everybody with one of those radios in the county and maybe potentially beyond that. And talking with the folks at CWS, they've said that that in a major incident, when things are going really bad, they would certainly have that tool at their disposal. But for Saturday's exercise, we're not gonna use that. So that's the main thing that I wanted to say. And then I just want to echo what was said about drones. I'm actually on a fire down in Los Angeles County right now. And the watchword for the aircraft is, if you fly your drone, we can't. So all those aircraft get grounded until that drone is, and it's not just, oh, we think it's out of the area. We have to go make contact with that drone operator and make sure that the thing is down, and probably have some stern words with them. So thank you for everything you guys have done tonight, and I appreciate the presentations.
Hey, Dennis, when's the last time you were home? I know you've been on multiple fires assisting with Unified Command and fire operations. I don't think you've been home in a while, have you?
Well, we were on a 21 days up in Humboldt County, and I was actually home for 6 days, and then I got down to this fire yesterday. So I think this will wrap up relatively quickly. So I'm hoping to be home in a week or so again.
Well, I appreciate Dennis taking the time to log in from down south. Having people that are actively out there doing stuff at his level is just another asset to us in La Miranda and in the Lafayette Emergency Preparedness Commission. So thanks, Dennis, for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. All right, we have a couple of hands up. Folks, if you do want to speak, it'd be great if you could raise your hand now, just so we have a sense of how many folks we have here. So next up will be Carol, and then followed by Gina Dawson. So Carol is joining the meeting now.
Unmute. Okay. Oh, well, first I see all the familiar faces that I missed seeing for the National Night Out at my swimming pool at Lafayette Point. Captain Pigeon and Chief Aldrich and Dennis Rain and Cam Burke. And it was very nice of you to come, and this presentation is wonderful. And I hope that some of my neighbors are in the audience, since I did send out a notice, and I'll be communicating all of my notes. I heard Lafayette leads the county in terms of what was it? I missed the end of that sentence.
That might have been, Carol, that may have been mine. I think it was leads the county in terms of the percentage of CWS registrations. I think that might be, that was part of my presentation. I don't know if Chief Aldrich has something.
Well, I will tell you in the percentage of signups for population or households. I know La Miranda cities are constantly duking it out to see who's the winner. So I definitely confidently can say La Miranda leads the way on that. I don't want to knock Moraga or Rinda in case they're ahead of us at this point, but it is a matter of pride. So if you're a Lafayette resident and haven't signed up, sign up and make sure we are the winners in the percentage of population. But we're definitely, La Miranda as a whole is definitely leading the way on that. So thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful, couldn't be more valuable than, and I'm sure my neighbors are going to appreciate all this information, and my family. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Stephen, any comments for Carol?
Just a quick comment. First of all, Carol, thank you for your work on emergency preparedness and public safety in our city. Thanks for being here. And I just wanted to just underscore the incredible progress on the sign up for CWS. And we had first talked about it more than a year ago, and really trying to get the word out. We had set some pretty ambitious goals for the types of increases that we would see. And, you know, just due to all the great work by the chief and others and Jeff and, you know, the various players, it's just, we made huge gains on those. You can see, you know, the chart that the chief showed earlier just really points to that. So really important because it's such a critical tool. So just wanted to note that, and that particular, you know, critical piece of progress on that front. Thanks.
I'm adding that in my newsletters too. So
Thank you, Carol. Wonderful to see you. Thank you so much.
Same here. Thank you.
Okay, we have Gina Dawson who will be joining the meeting now. If anyone else wants to speak, this would be a good time to use the raise your hand function or *9. So here comes Gina.
All right. Hi. I want to add my thanks to everybody for all the collaboration, and to all of you and all the people you represent who obviously put all the planning and everything together here. I just had a question as to if there's any kind of earthquake preparedness drill that might be coming up for the International Shakeout Day in October. That's another good disaster preparedness, and I'm just wondering if anything's planned.
Great question. Thank you, Gina. So typically every year, City of Lafayette management or your department heads along with PD would do a drill. We're still talking about what that looks like for this year, maybe a virtual tabletop, using some of our online resources, but that has been an annual thing that we've done. As you know, all of your city staff are required to be emergency disaster workers during a crisis. And so that's one of the things we do yearly is everyone from Narup running the EOC for the city to Mike Moran and Greg Wolf and all of our other department heads heading up different sections and going through the motions. We actually pull out the boxes all the trailers that you see the City of Lafayette has. We've got different trailers for different EOC operations. We've gone through back in October, actually plugging in phones, making sure all the communications work. So to your question for this year, we haven't quite sussed out what that was going to be like. I was hoping we'd be past COVID so we could see each other again. But we will have something, whether it's just using our web EOC platform that the county has and doing web EOC exercises for our department heads. But we'll be doing something. As far as citizen involvement, I really would argue our CWS drill on Saturday is one of the most efficient ways for families to take a role in a virtual evacuation, whether it's wildfire or earthquake. As Duncan said, it is, all the go bags, having your documents, making sure you're signed up for CWS, having a plan for getting out, helping out your neighbors in need. So anyhow, hopefully that answers the question, but we are still sussing out what it's going to look like for this year. Likely going to be over Zoom with department heads versus in person. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gina. Stephen, any questions for Gina?
Not a question, just a quick comment. First of all, thank you to Chief Ben for the reply. And I just wanted to take the opportunity, in the context of this town hall, to thank Ms. Dawson for all her work over the last few years on public safety of various stripes for our community. Just lots of hours of her own time put into, mobilizing the community and just being a resource to us on council on various aspects of public safety. So I just wanted to take the opportunity, since Gina had a question, to thank her for that really critical work for our community.
Thank you.
All right, I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you, Gina.
Thanks.
Have a great night. Thanks for calling in.
Good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All righty. So we have Christina Strum.
Hi there.
Hi, Christina.
Jeff, my last name's Sturm, but it's a common, my maiden name was Charbonneau, and when I married Rob, I thought for sure I wouldn't have to deal with mispronunciations anymore, but it's a tricky one.
It's getting late. My glasses are all dirty and the screen's far away. Sorry about that.
So I too wanted to express my appreciation for this presentation. I've been lucky enough to hear previous presentations that touched on some of the highlights of what the fire and police agencies have been doing to prepare us, but I appreciate the depth of this presentation. I think it's going to do a lot to just help people be prepared, and then also alleviate anxiety that I think we all have. And I'll be sure to share what I learned on local Facebook groups and things like that to spread the word. My question is, and I know the mega fires that are ongoing right now, I'm sure are still under investigation, but I get the sense that with the cameras and the pre-positioning that you guys would know immediately if if a flame struck up from a lightning strike or down power line or whatnot. And I saw the response to the fire last year. The planes were going over my house, and it seemed like you could really activate quickly to snuff that out. So I'm wondering, you were showing the picture of the camera, I guess it was down in the SCU fire. So it sounds like they have cameras in the areas where these mega fires are. And I was just wondering if you have a sense of what happened there. Like, did the strikes happen in an area where people, like the fire trucks couldn't get there fast enough, or how did it blow up so big with these notification systems in place?
Well, you want to take that? Start off?
I was going to leave it to you.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'll take it.
You're the expert in this area. Go ahead.
So with the lightning strikes, I can tell you firsthand for us in the county when we were dealing with the lightning strikes on August 17th is, that the strikes happen, you can hear them, you can see them, but you don't know what it's actually ignited in terms of on the hilltop or where it is. A lot of times these lightning strikes that happen in these really remote locations, or they could even happen locally, sometimes you'll see them right away, and the public will see them and call 911 and say, hey, there's fire by this roadway or on this hilltop. We got a number of those calls, but sometimes they're in a very remote location and they don't even show themselves until the sunlight comes up from the next day, the wind starts to pick up, the humidity starts to drop, and then they'll start growing. So with the SCU lightning complex and also the LNU lightning complex, what ended up happening is multiple fires were started by the lightning. So you had, as part of the SCU complex, which is the large fire, the mega fire to the south of us, you had multiple fires. We had 3 or 4 multiple fires in the Marsh Creek area. That was part of the SCU lightning complex. And then multiple fires also started, south of Livermore and further. And those fires now have essentially just burned together in that large complex. The Deer Zone, which was the Marsh Creek complex, we were able to contain that. And that was a fairly large fire for this county, but we were able to contain that. And then that fire was essentially 100% contained. And then basically now they're just focusing on the large mega fire to the south. We don't have technology that instantly tells us that there's a flame. We actually rely a lot on the public for that. But on that day, we were using John Cornell with the City of Lafayette Police Department to kind of scan and pan to see, especially once that humidity drops and the temperature rises, to see if we had any smoke showing from any of the cameras. And then we also flew later in the day. It was East Bay Parks had a helicopter that was available, and they flew the county to see if there were any other ignitions. So I wish there was some type of technology where you just instantly knew there was a flame. Technology is not there yet, but I can tell you that the fire chief officers were glued, I was at least, and I know some others were glued to, there's a real-time lightning map where it actually pinpoints where all the strikes are. But there were so many, there were thousands of strikes all throughout Northern California, and hundreds of fires were started. So that's why you have these mega fires, is you have these multiple fires that have grown together, but you also have this significant resource drawdown throughout all of California, from local government to the state. They just don't have the resources to put the fires out effectively. So hopefully that answers your question, Christina.
Just to add on, Christine, about the cameras. So one of the things that we worked really diligently on over the last 7-8 months was we put cameras on the north end of Briones, like on the Martinez side. We put cameras up in the Oakland Hills. We put them within Lafayette. We put them on the south side of Moraga, or the south end of Moraga. We've got one down in the Central Valley area to include, and then also Mount Diablo. One of the things coming that we did discuss, I'm sure you caught it, was the beta testing they're doing of that software that breaks the image into microgrids, which will then allow the camera to, without human interaction, alert a dispatch center that they detect smoke. There is still going to be a level of challenge there. It's based on where the camera is pointed. So if the camera in a 360 circle was pointed the other direction, they're not constantly rotating. And so Fire, police agencies try to consistently keep the cameras pointed towards those high risk areas, but there is potential for a fire to pop up. The camera's not pointed there, and whether human eye or the software that's coming would not detect it, and we're relying on the good old, hey, someone saw smoke and called it in. So there's going to be inherent challenges with it. But we're really excited about the software coming. And again, you won't see all the public face, or all the cameras that are on alertwildfire.org don't include all the private ones we have from landowners within Loma that agreed to have us put one on their property. So we really tried to inundate Loma with multiple camera angles. So once we have this software into the cameras, we're just continually trying to ratchet up that ability to be better prepared, more quickly respond, and have the resources there. But it's going to be an ongoing challenge for sure. And as Chief Pigeon said, when we have specific weather events coming in, like red flag, the lightning, we're also obviously spooling up resources to be more proactively on those cameras to take advantage of that resource. But on a Monday with no alert, could a fire break out in Briones and a camera's not pointed that way? It creates some challenges. Absolutely, that's there. So I don't want to say that this is 100% foolproof, but from where we were last fire season to where we're at this year is a significant improvement, and we're looking to just continually improve that. So thank you.
It does seem like every year we learn something and you guys just get more and more on top of it. So that's why I was wondering about how the mega fires broke out and how that played out. What was there pre-positioning that happened in that August 17th lightning event?
To be honest, I can't, it's somewhat blurring together, Christina. I believe there was. I know that we upstaffed significantly inside. I don't know if there was a formal Cal OES pre-positioning approval or a request made. I can't answer that right now. But I know that we upstaffed significantly inside the county, including, Moraga Rinda, Contra Costa Fire, all the agencies have provided additional staffing for that event. But on a formal Cal OES, I can't answer that. I don't have direct knowledge, but I could find out.
Okay, thanks.
And just to add in on that, since maybe you're the last speaker. So again, one of the things you don't see from your side sitting at home is a great example is prior to this past weekend on Friday, Moraga Rinda Fire, myself, the two police chiefs of Moraga Rinda, Dennis, Con Fire, were all communicating ahead of time. Hey, what resources are you upstaffing? Okay, are you going to do increase officers? Hey, John's available. So when we have the advantage of these weather patterns coming in that increase the fire danger, there is an elevated level of communication that goes on between law and fire and emergency services to identify all the resources each other has, to put each other on high alert. So there's a lot of double checking or self-check, if you will, that's a part of that process, just like with even a PSPS event. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Stephen, do you have any comments for Christina or questions?
No questions or comments. That's great questions, Christina. Thank you for bringing those to the meeting.
It's fantastic. Thanks, Christina. It's good to see you. Okay, Jeff, do we have any other speakers?
Yeah, no more public comment at this time.
Okay. Oh, actually, I think I just saw a hand go up.
A hand did go up. If folks could raise their hand now, that would be really good so we don't miss you. All right, Lynn Cass is joining. Go ahead, Lynn, you're in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank all of you for the really good information that you presented this evening. It was real helpful. I was affected last year in October and actually was told to evacuate. I live in zone, I guess it's 8. I could see the fire from my backyard. I live on Castleton Place, which is right off of Old Tunnel Road. I also was affected by the fire on Condit. My question to all of you is, I got first the notice to prepare to evacuate, and then the notice to evacuate, and then the notice that Pleasant Hill Road was closed. And the fire was right at the freeway interchange, and I live a 1/10 of a mile from getting onto the freeway. I wasn't sure where to evacuate and how to get out of the fire zone. What provisions do you have for directing people when there's multiple fires affecting an area?
Hey, Carol, if I could ask a clarifying question. When you said Pleasant Hill Road was closed, was that from CWS or was that from a different source? Just for curiosity, just for perspective. Do you recall?
I don't recall, but I was getting notices via phone. That was where I was getting most of my information because the cell phone, that was initial and then that went down. And so then it was just via phone calls.
So I'd be happy to do follow-up. I don't recall us ever putting out a CWS saying the road was closed because we never fully closed that road. Obviously, we had some challenges at one of the intersections initially getting people out and resources in, and we quickly rectified that with personnel and powering up that intersection with a generator. So again, I don't recall the CWS alert specific to Pleasant Hill Road. One of the things I do encourage, and this isn't to downplay the scariness of October, is for you or for anyone else, just knowing the multiple ways out of your community. Obviously, we have a lot of areas, Spring Hill, for example, where you have to leave out of Spring Hill at Pleasant Hill Road to get out of there. And so that's one of the inherent challenges we have in Lafayette is there are more than one neighborhood that has one way in, one way out. But if you do live in a neighborhood where there's a back way into, say, Walnut Creek or going south on Pleasant Hill Road, if it's some way you've never really used, I always encourage people to at least do a practice route once or twice from their home. It happens with even just traffic collisions blocking the road where folks really have never practiced the secondary route to their home. But again, for us, Pleasant Hill Road is an arterial route. And so if we were having a road closure on Pleasant Hill Road, we're going to be fixing that quickly because, as you know, that is a main arterial route for so many folks. And whether we go to contraflow or we have to keep one lane closed and just open one lane up, that is one of our main roadways where we're going to be bringing in resources to, whether it's serve volunteers, mutual aid from law enforcement to do traffic control and make sure we keep at least one lane of traffic open to get people in and out of there. Will, did you have something on that?
No, I can't speak to the specific sequences of the CWS event, Chief Aldred. I would have to leave that to you on the warnings and what was issued on that day. I don't recall Pleasant Hill Road being closed on that day. I know we had.
It was just blocked, and it wasn't clear because my way out from where I am, I'm very close to Highway 24 and the intersection at 24. I would ordinarily go that way, but the fire was that way. Or I would go up Old Tunnel Road going the back way. That was blocked. And then they said that Pleasant Hill Road South was blocked. That's like my third egress. And then there was something that was going on in the middle of town. So going west on Mount Diablo appeared to me to be out. And I was just confused with the information I was getting. And so I had previously thought of ways I would get out, but they all seemed to have a problem.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Maybe I can make a suggestion. And these are great questions, Len.
Yeah,
I mean, there are things that you need answers to. Maybe I could suggest if you and Ben take it offline, and that way you can really kind of get into the details. And Ben's always contactable 24 hours a day. He should sleep more. But maybe Len, if you could email Ben, or Ben, if you could email Len and exchange information, and then do that might be best.
Yeah, Lynn, I'd be happy for you to reach out to me. My email is available through the city website, and I'd definitely be happy to assess this out a little bit further because it's a great question. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
And I think the only other thing I want to say is I was not totally prepared to evacuate when this happened last year. I am now prepared, and I can't say enough about this wildfire preparedness pamphlet that you all put together. It's really helpful, and I would encourage everybody to take a look at it.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Stephen, do you have any questions for Lynn? Oh no, she dropped. Okay. All right. We're good. We're good, Jeff. Sorry, Jeff. Do we have any more speakers? I can't open my panel. Did we lose Jeff Hammond?
It looks like we have.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was muted there. We have Carol, who was already in the meeting. I don't know what the protocol is, if we're sticking to the 3 minutes or what.
Well, let's dial her in real quick.
Okay.
And
all right, here she comes.
Doesn't look like we have any other speakers lined up. So, Carol, I think you're muted.
Carol, you're muted there.
Oh, I was just touching the bottom to move the screens, and it works differently with this particular Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So I could just thank you again.
Okay.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's it. No more public comment at this time.
All right, Jeff. Thanks very much.
Councilmember Burks, I just have a question as a citizen, and maybe Duncan could answer the question, but I'm secretly a ham radio operator, who in the community, how would to participate in terms of the ham stuff? I know Jeff, I think it was Jeff K mentioned that where is a resource for somebody to go to figure out what the local ham groups are doing in terms of the radio from disaster emergency preparedness.
Okay, we're holding a GMRS net on the Lafayette GMRS repeater. That will be, I believe, every 15 minutes, starting at 7:45. And then there will be a ham net. I believe it's on 440, it may be on 2 meter, but you can find out from the LARIG, LARIG. That's the Loma Linda Area Radio Interest Group. They have the information. And if anyone can't find any information there, they can email me, manager@lomarindacert.org, and I will get the information.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think we have any additional speakers. So we'll wrap up. Councilmember Bliss, do you have any final comments before we wrap?
Nothing further, just a big thanks to both all the speakers tonight, to you, Councilmember Burks, and also to all the people that attended and offered public comment as well. Really very successful night, very substantive, and I think a lot of people leave this evening feeling better informed about emergency preparedness and evacuation plans. And also, I know this will then, at some point very soon be placed on the city's YouTube channel, so people can refer back to it in the future as well. So great to have the discussion live, but also the record of the discussion as a video permanently. So thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Councilmember Bliss, for your leadership on this. And I was going to mention the same thing. The YouTube site recording often is up like right away. Jeff, Ryan, I'm usually Facebooking it out at 1 in. So I would ask everybody on the call who can do that, spread the word, especially the link and talk to your neighbors. That'd be great. So we'll go ahead and wrap. Thank you to the leaders on the panel tonight, and thank you to the public very much for the great turnout tonight. And everybody, please stay safe. And we will continue to meet as a subcommittee on this topic as much as we need to throughout the entire fire season. So thank you all, and be well tonight.
Good.
And we're
Thank
adjourned.
you. Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.